Chapter 265. Lu Benlai. Boss, I swear on my integrity that it's definitely blocked. Do you have any integrity? How can you swear on your integrity so casually? Lin Jiej was still unwilling to believe that this was the truth. On the other end of WeChat, Lu Benlai seemed to know what Lin Jiej was thinking, and he sent another message. My chastity. And my love that's about to come. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to reply to Lu Benlai, so he tapped on Lu Benlai's name and selected the option to block him from seeing his Moments page. Then he sent a message to Lu Benlai. Tap into my Moments page and take a screenshot for me. Soon Lu Benlai sent a screenshot over. It was exactly the same as when he first tapped into Big White Chubby's Moments page. Other than a background image, a profile picture, and a signature, he couldn't see anything else. So, it was just as Lu Benlai had said. Big White Chubby had blocked him from her Moments page. She and Xia Shangzhou had been replying so passionately in their Moments page, but when it came to him, it became a block? The more Lin Jiej thought about it, the more he lost his composure. In the end, he decided to head over to the App Store and found WeChat. He gave it a 1-star negative review, and the accompanying comment was, "The user experience is terrible. If not for the fact that the lowest rating is 1 star, I would have given it a 0. Even after giving his review on WeChat, Lin Jiej still felt stifled. He tapped into WeChat once more and sent a message to Lu Benlai. I'll take you out for afternoon tea. Do you want to come? Lu Benlai instantly replied. Sure. There was even a cute emoticon attached at the end. Lin Jiej. Let's meet at the school gate in 10 minutes. Lu Benlai. All right, boss. A moment later, Lu Benlai. Boss, should we call old Xia along? Xia Shangzhou? Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej replied, no, abandon him. Lu Benlai, sure. I'm not familiar with old Xia anyway. What's his name? How tall is he? How much does he weigh? How old is he? I don't know anything. By the time Lin Jiej arrived at the school gate, Lu Benlai was already waiting for him. As soon as Lin Jiej approached, Lu Benlai put away his phone and asked, Boss, where are we going for afternoon tea? You'll know when we get there. Lin Jiej replied nonchalantly. After which, he flagged down a taxi at the entrance of the academy and gestured for Lu Benlai to get in. It was 3 in the afternoon, and it wasn't the peak hour of the night shift yet, so the traffic wasn't too bad. Roughly 20 minutes later, the car arrived at the street that Lin Jiej had reported to them. After making the payment, Lin Jiej and Lu Benlai walked roughly 200 meters down the road before stopping in front of a shop. Lu Benlai knew of this street. It was a famous street for supper in Beijing. He raised his head to look at the shop's name, Taste of Home. Then he stared at the picture of a menacing crayfish and asked, Boss, are you sure we want crayfish for tea? Lin Jiej replied with a nonchalant, before leading the way into the flavor of home. Lu Benlai discreetly rubbed his stomach, which hadn't fully digested his lunch, and gritted his teeth to follow along. Even though it was afternoon, there were still many tables filled with people. Lin Jiej found a seat near the center of the restaurant and took a seat. He pushed the menu over to Lu Benlai and gestured for him to place his order. After which, he began looking around at the people eating crayfish in the area. Chapter 266. The only interaction he had with Big White Chubby was limited to PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Even if he were to look through every single person here, he still wouldn't be able to guess which one was Big White Chubby. In truth, he was just casually looking around, but it didn't take long before his attention was drawn to a table on the right by the window, because Soft Bun was at that table. Perhaps it was a classmate gathering, but there were around 9 people seated at Soft Bun's table. Other than Soft Bun, Lin Jiej had some impression of 3 of them. They had followed Shi Yao to the toilet during the physical education class. Lin Jiej couldn't recall the name of the round-faced girl sitting on Shi Yao's right, but thanks to Lu Benlai, he knew that the name of the girl sitting on Shi Yao's left was Leng Nuan. As for the girl who resembled a boy sitting beside Leng Nuan, while Lin Jiej didn't know her name, he had a rather deep impression of her. Back then, when he was running the 3 kilometers marathon for the sports meet, she was the one who accompanied Shi Yao to bring him water. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej discreetly shifted his gaze downward, and when he saw that her chest was completely flat, He suddenly recalled the message that Lin Jai had sent him not too long ago. After that, Yao said that she didn't want it. I stopped my mother, but no one stopped Liang Mumu. After that, Liang Mumu tore away the bedsheet, and we saw a girl who resembled a man but had a poached egg on her chest. So the person who cuckolded me is her? She's the one who slept naked with soft bun? Lin Jiej's gaze fell on the young lady for a very long time, assessing her from head to toe. Her eyes aren't big enough, her nose isn't sharp enough, her teeth are a little crooked, the contours of her face aren't smooth enough, her hairstyle isn't nice, and judging from her height, her skin doesn't seem to match up to that of a boy. In summary, the threat level of this poached egg girl is 0. Lu Benlai, who had already placed his order, didn't forget to ask for the boss's opinion. Boss, do you think these are enough? Hearing those words, Lin Jiej retracted his gaze from Shi Yao's table. Without even looking at the dishes that Lu Benlai had ordered, he nodded his head in acknowledgement. After the order was placed and the waiter left, Lu Benlai poured some iced sour plum soup for himself and Lin Jiej while asking, Boss, why did you suddenly come here to eat crayfish? Don't you hate spicy food the most? Also, this shop is not eye-catching. How did you find it? Lu Benlai asked a few more questions, but seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't responding to him at all, he couldn't help but raise his head to look at the latter. Lu Benlai noticed that Lin Jiej would glance toward the window from time to time. Boss, why do you keep looking that way? Boss, why do you keep looking over there? Out of pure curiosity, Lu Benlai muttered to himself as he sipped on his sour plum juice. At the same time, he also turned his gaze in Lin Jiej's direction. Then Lu Benlai choked on the sour plum soup. He coughed a few times before he raised his hand and pointed at the table by the window. F***ck, 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 there really are beauties there. My wife, my wife, my wife. Lu Benlai was so agitated that the students at the two tables beside them turned to look at them. Lu Benlai frowned as he shot Lu Benlai a warning look. Lu Benlai hurriedly reined in his emotions and leaned his head closer to Lin Jiej's and whispered, Boss, it's really my wife. Chapter 267. I've seen shameless people before, but I've never seen someone as shameless as you. She probably doesn't even know your name. Lin Jiej shot a glance at Lu Benlai, but he couldn't be bothered to insult him. Paying no heed to Lin Jiej's disdainful gaze, Lu Benlai stroked his chin as he admired Lung Nuan's beauty for a while. Eventually, he couldn't help but praise, my wife sure is beautiful. She brings light to this restaurant. Lin Jiej looked at Shi Yao, who was stuffing crayfish into her mouth, and a frown appeared on his forehead. What do you mean by your wife brings light to this restaurant? It's clearly soft bun. However, Lin Jiej didn't hold it against Lu Benlai. Instead, he discreetly glanced at the group sitting opposite Shi Yao. There were 3 girls and 2 boys, and one of them seemed to be a couple. From time to time, the boy would feed the girl some crayfish, and the girl would wipe his mouth from time to time. The 2 of them seemed to be very lovey-dovey. As for the other 3, there wasn't anything wrong with the girls, but as for the boy, Lin Jiej observed him for a moment, but he didn't notice anything wrong with him. The crayfish that Lu Benlai ordered was soon served. Lu Benlai first passed a pair of gloves to Lin Jiej before putting on his own gloves and digging in. It was only when Lu Benlai's plate was filled to the brim with crayfish shells that he realized that Lin Jiej's plate was still clean. He raised his head in bewilderment and asked, Boss, why aren't you eating? As he said those words, his gaze followed Lin Jiej's gaze to the window. Following which, Lu Benlai saw the young man sitting opposite Shi Yao pass a plate of peeled prawns to her. The boy said something, but Shi Yao raised her head and flashed him a radiant smile before taking the plate of crayfish and eating it. Without thinking too much into it, Lu Benlai turned to Lin Jiej and said, Boss, that boy is actually peeling crayfish shells for little Junior. As the words left his mouth one by one, he could clearly feel the air around him becoming thinner. Lu Benlai hurriedly shut his mouth and changed the words he was about to say. But it's obvious that the boy isn't someone that a girl would like. He's probably just helping out as a classmate. As he spoke, Lu Benlai discreetly raised his eyes to assess the boy before him. His complexion didn't improve much, but it wasn't as frightening as before. He swiftly picked up a prawn and peeled the shell before placing the meat onto Lin Jiej's plate. Then he began changing the topic. Boss, have some prawns. As he spoke, Lu Benlai peeled a few more prawns and placed them on Lin Jiej's plate. Noticing that Lin Jiej's gaze was still a little cold, he added, "Boss, I believe that what little junior wants is the prawns, not the person who peels them. Since you're so pretty, you must have high standards. No, extremely high standards. I think, other than you, boss, the others must." Before Lu Benlai could finish his sentence, he had already subconsciously glanced at the window and fell silent. The male student who had just helped Shi Yao peel another plate of prawns, but this time he wasn't passing it to Shi Yao but to Lung Wan. Lu Benlai widened his eyes in shock. Roughly 3 seconds later, he turned to Lin Jiej and bellowed furiously, "Too much. This is too much." Chapter 268. Is there something wrong with this man? After peeling prawns for little junior, he peels prawns for my wife. Who cares about him peeling prawns? Amidst Lu Benlai's indignant roar, a few more peeled prawns appeared on the plate in front of the young man. Are you serious? He's still peeling prawns? Is he going to peel them for little junior sister or for my wife? Please, please, it's for little junior, for little junior. Before Lu Benlai could finish his third for little junior, he suddenly felt a chill rushing toward him. Shivering, he raised his head, only to see Lin Jiej shooting him a frosty gaze. Immediately, a smile blossomed on his face. Little junior, my ass. Little junior doesn't care about the prawns he peels. Lu Benlai, whose survival instincts were off the charts, forcefully twisted his words, and in the next second he changed the topic. Boss, we can't go on like this. We have to think of a way to stop him. You should know that the pavilion closest to the water enjoys moonlight first. He might look crooked, but his act of peeling prawns is very considerate. I've heard that it's very easy for girls to be moved by such small details. Lin Jiej stared at Lu Benlai in disbelief, thinking that he was spouting nonsense. Are you sure that girls will be moved by such small details? I'm sure. Lu Benlai puffed out his chest confidently. Just based on the 5 romance novels about domineering CEOs that I've been staying up all night to read, there's no way I'm wrong. Lin Jiej looked at Lu Benlai with disbelief in his eyes, as if he was looking at an idiot. Lu Benlai continued to defend himself. Boss, have you ever heard of the saying, know thyself and know thy enemy, and you will emerge victorious in every battle? The reason why I went to read novels about domineering CEOs is to understand the psychology of girls and learn what they're infatuated with so that I can better woo Lung Wan. Let me tell you, there's a lot to learn here. Some of the female leads are moved by the male leads help to warm her tummy due to her period, and some of the female leads are moved by the male lead's piggyback because the heel of her shoe broke. Besides, boss, how can you be so sure that girls won't be moved by peeling prawns? Even though Lin Jiej wasn't that convinced, he was moved by Lu Benlai's final words. It was better to kill the wrong person than to let him go. With that thought in mind, he looked around and found a fat middle-aged man with a greasy face. He moved closer to him and said a few words in a low voice. The middle-aged man replied with an okay gesture before stuffing the prawn in his hand into his mouth. As he chewed on it, he walked over to Shi Yao's table. It didn't take long for the middle-aged man to walk up to the young man who was peeling the prawns for Shi Yao and Lung Wan. With a fawning smile on his face, he greeted the young man, "Darling." Then, he wrapped his arms around the young man and planted a kiss on the latter's face. At the same time, the middle-aged man said, "What a coincidence to meet you here. Do you know that ever since you left me that night, I've been thinking of you every single day." The uncle didn't even give the boy a chance to speak. He even hugged the boy tightly. Lu Benlai could see with his own eyes how the people at the table looked at the young man, and their eyes were filled with shock and astonishment. When the uncle and the boy separated, the uncle accidentally knocked over the plate of prawns that the boy had peeled. Chapter 269. But boss, speaking of which, you sure are ruthless. You found a man to sever the girl's thoughts. After all, if you found a woman, they could still break up. Boss, you aren't just plucking peach blossoms, you're uprooting the peach tree. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Lu Benlai muttered to himself, praising Lin Jiej for a while before putting on his gloves and eating his prawns again. While eating, he didn't stop his mouth. It was a false alarm. I managed to escape death, and my wife isn't seduced by those bewitching B** cheese. From start to end, Lin Jie's gaze was fixed on Shi Yao's table. After the middle-aged man left, the young man blabbered on and on with a reddened face, most likely trying to explain himself. The others were also chuckling. From the looks of it, they were saying that they believed him, but their eyes were filled with doubt. Seeing that his plan had worked, Lin Jie retracted his gaze unhurriedly. He picked up the plum juice on the table, but just as he was about to drink it, he heard Lu Benlai's final words. He raised his eyes to look at Lu Benlai, and after a moment of contemplation he said, "You're thinking too much." With a mouthful of prawns, Lu Benlai's words were a little slurred. "What?" Lin Jie leisurely drank 2 mouthfuls of plum juice before continuing. "The girl you like has always been safe." Lu Benlai was even more dumbfounded. Lin Jie leisurely put down the cup of plum juice and said calmly, "That's because Yao Yao is by her side." In other words, with soft bun around, how could a man possibly be interested in the girl you like? Lu Benlai was indignant. "How do you know that the young man isn't interested in my wife? Don't forget that the young man peeled prawns for my wife too." "Oh, so what?" Lin Jie's voice was still as impassive as ever. "The first prawn that the young man peeled was for Yao, not the girl you like." This? Lu Benlai only managed to utter a single word before he found himself at a loss for words. But Lin Jie had no intention of letting the matter drop. Who knows, the young man might have been giving the girl you like some prawns to fawn on Yao. Lu Benlai. Lin Jie, also, the person of honor for this restaurant is soft bun. Lu Benlai. 10 whole seconds later, Lu Benlai finally spoke up. "Boss, you can insult me, but you can't insult my wife." Lin Jie shot Lu Benlai a perplexed look and asked, "Am I insulting you?" "I'm telling the truth. The girl you like isn't as pretty as soft bun anyway." Lu Benlai. 10 seconds later, Lu Benlai finally spoke up with a stern look on his face. "Boss, you'll lose me if you continue like this." Lin Jie nodded calmly and said, "Sure. We'll split the bill later." Lu Benlai. 10 seconds later, Lu Benlai's rage finally subsided. "All right, boss. Just this once, just this once. I'll admit that little Junior has brought light to this restaurant. No matter what you say, in my heart, my wife is the most beautiful. This is called beauty is in the eye of the beholder." Lin Jie's lips twitched, but he fell silent. Chapter 270. Before leaving, Lin Jie didn't forget to pay the bill for the middle-aged man who had helped him earlier, and he even gave them the untouched crayfish that Lu Benlai had ordered as well. 3 days ago, Shi Yao's roommates had already arranged with a few of her close classmates to eat crayfish at the Taste of Home on the weekend. Had it been any other day, Shi Yao would have immediately started eating as soon as the food was served. But today, someone stopped Shi Yao and insisted on taking a photo to post on his Moments page. Under that person's lead, everyone else followed suit and took a photo to post on their Moments page. Shi Yao stared at the crayfish for a moment, but since she couldn't eat it, she had no choice but to take a photo and post it on her Moments page to divert her attention. After successfully posting it on her Moments page, she saw that her message to Expert of the Monkeys had received a reply, so she casually replied to Monkey before continuing to eat. She placed her phone on the table, and the page was her Moments page. While she was eating the crayfish, people kept replying to her Moments page. Out of curiosity, Shi Yao would take a look at the replies on her Moments page every once in a while. She didn't add many friends, so there weren't many replies either. Most of the replies were either saying that she was poisonous or that she really wanted to eat it. However, there was one particular reply that stood out from the rest. It was from less than 111,111 fat to 250. He's only fat to 250? His entire family is fat to 250. Shi Yao couldn't be bothered to bicker with Mr. Numbers, so she could only grumble at him inwardly before replying to Monkey's reply and continuing to eat. Shi Yao thought that given Mr. Numbers' cold and aloof personality, he would surely ignore her if she were to ignore him. But who could have thought that Mr. Numbers would actually appear on her Moments page once more? Less than 111,111 eating spicy food causes pimples to break out. She had the kind of milky skin that everyone envied, alright? She was born with fair and smooth skin. Shi Yao chose to ignore it once more. Less than 111,111. I'm speaking the truth. There's an even more terrifying truth. Do you want to hear it? Don't listen to it. Just as these words flashed across Yao's mind, less than 111,111's reply appeared on her phone. It's one thing if you're fat, but if you have pimples all over your face. Yao, who was in the midst of sipping on her coconut juice through her straw, choked on those words. In the first place, the reason why she drank the coconut juice was because it was spicy. Choking on it, the spiciness seeped into her nose, and the irritating sensation left her breathless. Unable to tolerate it any longer, she blocked less than 111,111 from seeing her moments without a second thought. In truth, Yao was thinking of unblocking less than 111,111 after eating the crayfish. But after they were done eating the crayfish, Tian suggested that they go shopping for Haagen-Dazs, and she had forgotten about the matter. By the time they returned to the academy, it was already 7 in the evening. Due to the hot weather, Yao was drenched in sweat, so she took a bath and changed into her pajamas before picking up her phone and calling for everyone in the sexy and frisky group to play. Expert of the monkeys was the first to speak up. Sis Yao, I'll only be able to play later. I'm still eating, so I haven't gone back yet. Juice. I'm reading a novel and I'm about to finish the finale. Let's play after I'm done with it. After sending the message, Juice less than 111,111 boss, aren't you playing the game? Bring Sis Yao along. The mention of Mr. Numbers from Juice reminded Yao that she blocked Mr. Numbers' Moments page, and she still hadn't unblocked it. She instinctively wanted to find an excuse to hide from him, but a sentence suddenly popped up on her screen. Chapter 271. As soon as Juice mentioned Mr. Numbers, Yao suddenly recalled that she blocked Mr. Numbers' Moments page, and she still hadn't unblocked it. She instinctively wanted to find an excuse to hide from him, but a message suddenly popped up on her screen. Less than 111,111. I'm afraid that I won't be able to squeeze into the server if I bring her along. Is he implying that I'm so fat that I can burst the server? How can there be someone with such a cheap mouth? Furthermore, I've already told him that I'm not fat anymore, so why does he still think that I'm fat? She was too busy eating crayfish in the afternoon to bother with him, but now with such thoughts in mind, Yao started typing on her screen angrily. The other party rolled his eyes at you and said that her legs might be even thinner than your arms. Less than 111,111. Are you treating your fingers as your legs? Whose fingers are thicker than their legs? Yao grew even more furious. She lowered her head to look at her fair and slender fingers before turning to look at her fair and slender thighs. She couldn't help but feel an urge to crawl through her phone, appear before Mr. Numbers, and dazzle him until he's blind. Before Yao could say anything, less than 111,111 had already sent another message. Other girls have slender hands, but yours. He intentionally paused halfway, and 2 seconds later, a new message popped up on the screen. Less than 111,111 Mountain of the 5 Fingers. Expert of the monkeys, boss, you're going overboard. Juice, that's right. Boss, how can you say that about Sis Yao? Tide. No wonder none of you have a girlfriend. I'm hugging my girlfriend, enjoying the air conditioner, eating watermelon, and watching Korean dramas. How blissful. Expert of the monkeys, Scram, you lovey-dovey dog. Juice. So what if you have a girlfriend? Something to brag about. With a girlfriend you can ascend to the heavens. Yao didn't respond to the other 3. Instead, she stared at the Mountain of the 5 Fingers sent by less than 111,111 for a while longer before reaching the end of her patience. She took out her phone, took a photo of her hand, and sent it to the WeChat group. While the photo was being sent, Yao started typing. Unphotoshopped. Taken by the iPhone's rear camera. After saying that, Yao added 3 mocking smiley emojis at the end of the message and sent it over. Facts speak louder than words. No matter how despicable Mr. Numbers' mouth is, he can't beat a photo. Expert of the monkeys. Wow, these are the classic hands of a beautiful woman. It's Juice. Sent a series of emoticons with red hearts in their eyes and salivating. Tide, good. 111,111. Did you steal it from the internet? What do you mean by stolen? She was a natural beauty. Did she need to steal pictures? Gritting her teeth, Shi Yao typed in 6 exclamation marks and sent it over. 111,111. But you're quite smart. You even knew to remove the watermark on other people's photos when you stole them. Where did the watermark come from? It was clearly her original work. Shi Yao couldn't be bothered to type anymore. Instead, she found a picture in her emoticons and sent it over. The caption on the picture was, "Who do you think you are? I don't want to talk to you anymore." Following which, Shi Yao's phone rang. It was from her mother. Chapter 272. It just so happened that the Sexy and Frisky group had a new message at the top, so Shi Yao clicked into it out of convenience. After sending that emoji, she picked up the call. Juice immediately popped up. "Oh no, Sis Yao is angry. Expert of the monkeys. I'm angry too, the kind that can't be coaxed. Juice. You make it sound like I'm interested in coaxing you. Expert of the monkeys. You make it sound like I'm interested in you coaxing me." Shi Yao took a quick glance at the conversation between Expert and Juice, and she couldn't help but shake her head helplessly. Didn't they say that I'm angry? How did it turn into a quarrel over whether I'm interested in you coaxing me or not? Have the two of them always been so unfocused? Shi Yao scrolled down the long chat history, and she finally saw Juice and Expert returning to the main topic. Expert of the monkeys. Yao loves ice cream. Sis Yao, it can't be that you're really angry? That's just how our boss is. He didn't mean anything by it, so allow me to apologize on his behalf. Juice. Sis Yao, I'll share my most treasured book with you. Attached was a photo of a hardcover book titled "A Billion Stars Can't Compare to You." Juice. It's a really good book, Sis Yao. I guarantee that you won't be unhappy after reading it because it'll make you want to cry. Perhaps it was because she hadn't spoken for a long time, but everyone thought that she was really angry. In the end, Juice and Expert started criticizing Mr. Numbers. Surprisingly, Mr. Numbers didn't even utter a single word to refute the duo at all. Shi Yao didn't speak in the Sexy and Frisky group anymore. After reading through the messages in the group, she returned to the main page and saw that less than 111,111 had sent her a private message. She clicked on it. Less than 111,111, question mark. Less than 111,111. Less than 111,111. 111,111. Are you really angry? The emoji that Shi Yao had sent to the group was a densely packed pile of biscuits. After receiving no response from Mr. Numbers despite sending her several messages, he sent her the same emoji. However, there was an additional red circle on the "Which biscuit are you?" emoji, and within the circle was the largest biscuit in the pile. I'm this biscuit. In truth, Shi Yao wasn't really angry. It was just a coincidence that her mother had suddenly called her. Seeing Mr. Numbers' reply, she couldn't help but burst into laughter before replying to Mr. Numbers. That photo is really my hand. 111,111. Okay. Whatever you say. What did he mean by that? Yes, that's right. Just as Shi Yao was about to emphasize her point once more, another notification popped up on the screen. 111,111. Your hands are quite beautiful. It wasn't as if Mr. Numbers' mouth was hopelessly vile. He still knew how to speak human language. Just as this thought flashed across Shi Yao's mind, yet another notification popped up on the screen. Less than 111,111. It's just that you look good, but you're useless. You're a lousy gamer. My face hurts. Shi Yao touched her face as she typed on the screen. I'm starting to pity you. Less than 111,111? Question mark. Chapter 273. Less than 111,111. Shi Yao didn't bother trying to decipher the meaning behind Mr. Numbers' ellipsis. She continued typing. Yao loves ice cream. It would have been better if you hadn't mentioned it. Now that you mention it, I can't help but pity your parents. They must be worried that you'll be single forever. After sending this message, Sure Yao didn't forget to send a sighing emoji to Mr. Numbers to express her current emotions. Less than 111,111. Do you want to hear the truth? Yao loves ice cream. Do you have a habit of lying? Less than 111,111. 111111. The truth is that you don't have to worry about me. I was already taken before I was even born. What does that mean? What do you mean by already been taken before you were even born? Sure Yao pondered for a moment before replying. Could it be that you found yourself a girlfriend while you were still in your mother's womb? Less than 111,111. Something like that. Ha! Sure Yao, who was in the midst of drinking coconut juice, nearly choked to death upon seeing those words. I'm just making it up on the spot. How am I supposed to find a girlfriend while I'm in my mother's womb? Not to mention, the fetus in my mother's womb was just a little bean. With such thoughts in mind, Sure Yao began replying. The other party sent you a dry laugh and said that your joke was really cold. Less than 111,111. What I meant was that I really had a girlfriend while I was still in my mother's womb. It's just that I wasn't the one who found her. It was someone arranged for me by my family. Less than 111,111. To put it simply, I have a fiancé. Less than 111,111. So, you don't have to worry about whether I'll be single or not. I was born with a fiancé. Less than 111,111. Not to mention my fiancé has a great figure, and she's beautiful too. This seems to be the first time I've seen Mr. Numbers type so many words. But is my imagination playing tricks on me at the end of his sentence? Why do I feel a deep sense of superiority just by reading between the lines? Is there really something to be proud of? It's as if he's talking about how no one was born without a significant other. Following which, Sure Yao also began typing. What a coincidence. I had a fiancé before I was even born. Seeing how Mr. Numbers was acting all smug, Sure Yao paused for a moment before adding, furthermore, my fiancé is super handsome, and he comes from a good family. 111,111. I didn't expect you to talk in your sleep even when you're awake. Who's talking in their sleep? What she said was clearly the truth. She already had a fiancé to begin with. Sure Yao wrinkled her nose and said, whoever lies to you is a piece of spicy chicken. After saying those words, Sure Yao sent Mr. Numbers a picture of a huge plate of spicy chicken. 111,111. Alright, since you said so, I'll reluctantly believe you. 111111. But I'm quite impressed that your fiancé can accept you. TSK. Don't think that I don't know that he's mocking me for not being worthy of that secret fiancé of hers. Lin Jiej. Fine, what he said was indeed the truth. Lin Jiej didn't think much of her, and she didn't seem to be worthy of him, but that didn't mean that she couldn't taunt him back. Sure Yao pouted as her fingers flew across the screen. Same here. I'm also quite impressed by your fiancé. Her tolerance is top-notch, and her taste sure is unique. 111,111. It's the same. Your fiancé's tolerance is one of the best in the world, and his taste is equally unique. 111,111. Speaking of which, I really pity your fiancé. Chapter 274. Less than 111,111. Forget it. Let's not talk about this anymore. Do you want to play a game? As soon as those words appeared on Sure Yao's phone screen, Mr. Numbers immediately shared a game room with her. Sure Yao was already interested in playing, so she couldn't be bothered to argue with Mr. Numbers anymore. She tapped on the room he shared and entered the game. While she was playing, Sure Yao couldn't help but think about the conversation she had with Mr. Numbers earlier. She had always thought that it was a miraculous thing for her to be betrothed to someone at birth. Who could have thought that she would actually meet someone in the game? Since when did betrothal become so popular? But speaking of which, Mr. Numbers was still an old virgin. He had a fiancé, but he didn't sleep with his fiancé. Could there be something wrong with Mr. Numbers in that aspect? What am I thinking about? Realizing that her thoughts were tainted, Sure Yao hurriedly shook her head. But a few seconds later, her thoughts drifted away once more. Mr. Numbers' mouth is so venomous, but his fiancé is actually able to tolerate it. Is there something wrong with her head? Lin Jiej leaned lazily against the back of his chair as his fingers slid across the screen filled with game pages, controlling the character in the game to jump around the spawn island. He looked perfectly normal on the surface, but his mind was filled with the conversation he had with Yao Loves Ice Cream earlier. Big White Chubby actually said that she had a fiancé? She must have made it up because he had a fiancé. After all, in this world, not anyone could have a significant other before they were even born. Besides, if she really had a fiancé, why wouldn't she be playing with her fiancé? Did she really think that he was that gullible? Furthermore, she even said that whoever lied to her was a piece of spicy chicken. He really couldn't imagine which piece of spicy chicken she was in the picture she sent him. Besides, if Big White Chubby really had a fiancé, why wouldn't her fiancé tell her to go on a diet when she was already so fat? If what she said was true, her fiancé must really be sick in the head. It didn't take long for the match to be completed. Yao quickly reined in her thoughts and focused on the game. Mr. Numbers was still leading her wherever she went. Of course, he was still as invincible as ever, carrying her wherever they went. Whenever they encountered a god, they would slay a god, and whenever they encountered a demon, they would slay a demon. Mr. Numbers would kill every single one of them, and she would get chicken dinners with 0 kills. Nevertheless, it wasn't as if she couldn't bump into anyone every time she landed so that she could experience the game. On the 5th round, Yao and less than 111,111 parachuted down to the ground, and they ran into another team. Then, a second after Yao's feet touched the ground, she was pummeled to death by the fists of the other two. How cruel! Not only did he turn into a box as soon as he landed, he was even beaten to death by the two of them. Yao's heart felt stifled for a second before she switched over to less than 111,111's vision. She had originally thought that since there were two of them and he was alone, he would avoid them and go to the nearby houses to pick up equipment and grow wretchedly. Who could have thought that Mr. Numbers would actually pick up a pistol from a random toilet by the roadside and chase after the two men who had just beaten her to death? There was a car nearby, so before Mr. Numbers could catch up, the two of them had already boarded the car and left. Chapter 275. There was a car nearby, but before Mr. Numbers could reach them, the two of them had already boarded the car and left. Yao thought that Mr. Numbers would give up and head to the housing area to pick up some equipment and strike it rich. However, what happened next gave her another tight slap to her face. Mr. Numbers had indeed headed to the housing area, but he wasn't heading for the houses but the parking lot of the housing area. He found a motorcycle there and sped off in the direction of the two men's car. Motorcycles were the fastest vehicles out of all of the vehicles. Even though the two men had boarded the motorcycle slightly earlier than Mr. Numbers, it didn't take long for the duo's car to appear in Mr. Numbers' sight once more. The two of them chased after one another for quite a while, and when they were passing by two houses, the two men suddenly jumped off the motorcycle and entered the house. Yao knew that the two of them hadn't picked up any equipment when they landed, so they were intending to enter the house to pick them up so that they could retaliate against less than 111,111. However, a second after the two men entered the house, Mr. Numbers immediately stopped his motorcycle and leaped into the house through the window. With a small pistol in his hand, he fired at the two men. The two men scattered around the house, and the three of them circled around the house for quite a while before the two men returned to the motorcycle and drove off. Yao thought that since the two men had left, no one would be able to loot the equipment in the house. Furthermore, the blue zone was already starting to refresh, so Mr. Numbers would surely start looting the equipment. Unexpectedly, upon seeing the two men leaping out of the window, Mr. Numbers also ran toward the window as well. Passing by a level 3 motorcycle helmet, he didn't even spare it a glance before shattering the glass with a kick. With a resounding crash, he landed on the ground, found his motorcycle, and chased after the two men. The two men were driving an SUV, and they were probably annoyed by Mr. Numbers' pursuit, so they attempted to ram him to death. Yet, just as Yao thought that Mr. Numbers was going to die, he would always be able to maneuver his motorcycle and easily evade them. Seeing that the blue zone was getting closer and closer, the two men tried more than 10 times to ram less than 111,111 to no avail. Eventually, they gave up and ran toward the safe zone. Mr. Numbers continued chasing after them relentlessly. Just like before, whenever the two of them tried to enter the housing area to pick up equipment, they would be chased by Mr. Numbers with a pistol. It was as if the three of them were playing hide and seek. They went back and forth many times, but no one was killed, and no one picked up any equipment. When the three of them ran into the blue zone for the third time, the two of them could no longer hold it in. They rolled down the window and spoke to 111,111, who was driving next to them. "Brother, please don't chase after me, okay? The game has already been going on for 10 minutes, and neither of us has any equipment. If you do this, both of us will suffer heavy losses. Later, no one will be able to fight in the arena. Isn't it just killing one of your teammates? Is there a need to do this?" "That's right, brother. Do you know that you've already chased the two of us across half the map? Can't we talk it out?" Yes. "Brother, if you're unhappy because you lost a teammate, why don't the three of us form an alliance?" Chapter 276. Brother, why don't you agree to our conditions? Otherwise, none of us will be able to make it to the final circle. The duo tried to persuade Mr. Numbers for a long while before he finally responded, "All right. Then, brother, do you want to get on our car?" One of the duo's voices sounded from the game, and less than 111,111's speeding motorcycle began to slow down. Mr. Numbers didn't say a word, but the duo knew that his actions meant that he had agreed to their suggestion, so they hurriedly slowed down as well. The two cars came to a stop, and Mr. Numbers leaped down from his motorcycle and leaped toward the Jeep. The two cars were very close to one another, and Mr. Numbers' leap allowed him to land right beside the window of the passenger seat. Seeing that Mr. Numbers didn't get on the Jeep right away, one of the duo urged, "Brother, hurry up, the blue circle is about to reach us." However, before he could finish his words, Mr. Numbers had already raised his hand, and a bullet flew out from his pistol, piercing right into the head of the person in the passenger seat. Following which, the person in the passenger seat fell out of the car and collapsed at Mr. Numbers' feet. Following which, a notification popped up on Yao's screen. Less than 111,111 knocked out physics homework get lost, with our 1895. While everyone was still trying to figure out what was going on, Mr. Numbers raised his hand once more, and a gunshot sounded. Two crates appeared around less than 111,111. Following which, two notifications popped up on Yao's phone screen. 111111 eliminated phone top-up for your boyfriend with our 1895. Less than 111,111 eliminated physics homework get lost with our 1895. The duo who were killed by less than 111,111 finally came to their senses. "The heck are you for real? Brother, didn't you agree to our alliance?" "Indeed. How can you be like this? Aren't you going back on your words?" Faced with the duo's criticism, Mr. Numbers replied calmly, "I agreed to it in that second, but I didn't say that I would agree to it in the next second. The heck, I've never seen such a shameless person before. You're too shameless." Amidst the furious curses of the two boxes, Mr. Numbers leaped into the Jeep that they had just driven and stepped on the accelerator. Now that he had killed two players, it was time for him to enter the safe zone and start looting equipment to prepare for the final circle, right? With such thoughts in mind, Yao stuffed a potato chip into her mouth. But before she could finish chewing, she saw Mr. Numbers driving the car right into the blue zone. Yao subconsciously reminded less than 111,111. "You're running in the wrong direction." No one paid attention to her. The car under Mr. Numbers' control was still speeding through the blue zone. Watching as Mr. Numbers' health bar continued to fall, Yao's lips moved once more. But this time, before she could say anything, she saw Mr. Numbers getting closer and closer to the spot where she had died. Yao was stunned for a moment before she saw Mr. Numbers' car coming to a stop. Following which, Mr. Numbers leaped out of the car, took 2 steps forward, found her box and began hopping around it. Did Mr. Numbers have a screw loose in the head? Why did he run into the blue zone and jump around her crate? Chapter 277. Following which, less than 111,111's voice sounded in Shi Yao's earpiece. If you don't pick up any equipment, you won't be able to fight in the finals. The longer they played together, the more she heard Mr. Numbers speak. But every time he spoke, she still couldn't help but be awed by his melodious voice. With such thoughts in mind, less than 111,111's melodious voice sounded in Shi Yao's ears once more. Thinking about how lonely your new grave is, I felt that you were quite pitiful, so I reluctantly came over to accompany you. You were quite pitiful. Reluctantly came over. As those words sounded in Shi Yao's ears, she suddenly felt that Mr. Numbers' voice wasn't pleasant at all. On the other end of the game, after saying, thinking about how lonely your new grave is, I felt that you were quite pitiful, so I reluctantly came over to accompany you. Lin Jiej quickly took a screenshot and saved it into his photo album. By then it was already around 11 p.m. When Lin Jiej returned to the game, he heard Yao loves ice cream, telling him that she was going to sleep. Without saying a word, Lin Jiej typed an 8 and sent it over. After Yao loves ice cream left the room, Lin Jiej logged out of the game too. He put down his phone and rubbed his neck, which was a little sore from playing the game for too long. Stretching his back lazily, he grabbed a towel and pajamas before heading to the bathroom. By the time he came out of the bathroom, Xia Shangzhou was already back. Xia Shangzhou was looking at his phone when he heard the door to the bathroom open. So he raised his head and called out, "Boss?" Lin Jiej replied with an as he dried his wet hair. He walked over to his table and grabbed the hairdryer. While he was drying his hair, he could vaguely hear Xia Shangzhou singing. However, due to the loud noise from the hairdryer, he couldn't hear the lyrics clearly. It was only after he finished drying his hair, switched off the hairdryer, and tidied his hair in front of the mirror that he finally heard what Xia Shangzhou was singing. "I want to bring you to the romantic desert, so we can chase after the airdrops and escape from the blue circle together. Actually, I really like motorcycles and the 8x scope in Milta. Wasn't this what he posted on his Moments page in the afternoon? On top of that, there was a picture of him carrying Xiao on his motorbike. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej suddenly recalled how Yao loves ice cream had blocked him from her Moments page. A slight frown appeared on his forehead. Then he heard Xia Shangzhou humming the lyrics of the song. "Today's makeup is especially mesmerizing. Oh my Xiao, a new mood before a game. Oh my Xiao, my Xiao?" Lin Jiej turned to look at Xia Shangzhou and saw that the latter was engrossed in singing the lyrics on his laptop. Lin Jiej stared at Xia Shangzhou for 2 seconds before retracting his gaze. He pretended to be absent-minded as he fixed his hair in front of the mirror for a while. Then he sat back on the chair and picked up his phone. He opened the photo album and stared at the screenshot for a while before sending it to Xia Shangzhou. Following a ding-dong sound from Xia Shangzhou's phone, Lin Jiej began typing on the keyboard on the screen. "Do you see that? If we live together. If we die together. Also, there's something I forgot to tell you. Yao loves ice cream is from G University. First year English department. 19 years old. 165 centimeters tall. You don't know any of this, right?" Chapter 278. After sending several messages in a single breath, Lin Jiej suddenly felt a lot better. So what if he drove Yao loves ice cream on a motorbike? So what if he interacted with Yao loves ice cream frequently in his moments? Didn't he know as much about Yao loves ice cream as he did? Xia Shangzhou, who had been singing to the side, was completely silent. After sending all of the messages, Lin Jiej shot a glance at Xia Shangzhou, who was seated by the side, and saw a slight frown on the latter's forehead as he stared at the screen of his phone with a look of deep resentment on his face. Only then did Lin Jiej feel a little better. Xia Shangzhou still hadn't replied to Lin Jiej's message. Paying it no heed, Lin Jiej switched off his computer, grabbed a book and prepared to head to bed. But just as he was about to stand up with his phone and book in hand, Xia Shangzhou, who had been staring at his phone for a long time, suddenly took off his earphones and turned to Lin Jiej. "Boss." Lin Jiej didn't pay much attention to Xia Shangzhou, so he didn't even bother to look at him. With a simple he walked over to his bed. But barely after he took 2 steps, Xia Shangzhou spoke up once more. This time, his tone was much more solemn than before. "Boss, I need to talk to you." Noticing that there was something wrong with Xia Shangzhou's tone, Lin Jiege halted his movements and turned to look at Xia Shangzhou. Xia Shangzhou usually loved to smile, but at this moment there wasn't the slightest hint of a smile on his face. A slight frown appeared on Lin Jiege's forehead. Instead of his nonchalant attitude earlier, he looked at Xia Shangzhou with a calm mem, gesturing for him to speak. Staring straight into Lin Jiege's eyes, Xia Shangzhou gulped down a mouthful of saliva before speaking up. "Boss, I don't think what you did was right. What did I do wrong?" Lin Jiege frowned in incomprehension, but he didn't say a word. He patiently waited for Xia Shangzhou to continue. "Xia Shangzhou, boss, you already have little Junior, so why are you still hogging Sis Yao? Since when did he have soft bun and big white chubby?" Baffling. Lin Jiege's frown deepened. "Boss, when little Junior was bullied by campus farce Qin, you immediately went to the forum to defend her. At that time you were very angry. You are not very approachable, but your temper is not that scary. That was the first time I saw you so angry because of a girl. Also, when you saw Han Jing confessing to Junior, you were very unhappy. You even called the police and asked them to take Han Jing away on the pretext of disturbing the public. You even splashed a basin of water on him. Anyway, there are a lot of things that I can't think of in such a short amount of time. Let's not talk about other things. Let's just talk about what happened a few days ago. Little Junior was in a bad mood and you sent me and little Lai Lai a message asking us to go to KTV to cheer her up. I've never seen you so concerned about a girl before. In any case, since you're already treating little Junior this way, why are you still flirting with Sis Yao?" Lin Jiege didn't remain silent any longer. "When did I flirt with Yao? Did Xia Shangzhou's brain go haywire because of what he'd said? What nonsense are you spouting? Why aren't you flirting with Sis Yao? Do you dare to say that dying together with Sis Yao in the game isn't considered flirting with Sis Yao? Also, what's wrong with me riding a motorcycle with Sis Yao? Why must you compare yourself to me?" The more Xia Shangzhou spoke, the more incisive his words became. "Boss, you already have a little Junior, so why are you still flirting with Sis Yao? Don't you think that you're going overboard? A little Junior that I like? A soft bun that I like? I like soft bun." Chapter 279. The little Junior he likes? The soft bun he likes? He likes soft bun? As these three questions flashed across Lin Jiege's mind, a row of dumbfounded question marks appeared before his eyes. It took a long while before Lin Jiege realized what Xia Shangzhou was talking about. Is there something wrong with Xia Shangzhou's head? He actually said that he likes Shi Yao? Without thinking too much about it, Lin Jiege replied to Xia Shangzhou, "You're spouting nonsense," but halfway through his words, Lin Jiege abruptly came to a halt. He had no idea what was wrong with him, but he suddenly felt a little guilty, such that his words sounded a lot less confident than before. "What nonsense are you spouting?" "I'm not spouting nonsense. I have my words backed up by facts." As Xia Shangzhou spoke, he pointed to Lu Benlai, who was reading a book on his bed, and said, "Boss, if you don't believe me, you can ask little Lai Lai and see if he agrees with what I just said." Lu Benlai, who had been dragged into this mess for no reason, was so frightened that his hands trembled, and he nearly dropped his book. "The heck? If you want to talk to boss, just do it. Why do you have to drag me into it?" Lu Benlai chose to focus on his book, so he didn't hear anything at all. Little Lai Lai? Lu Benlai? However, Xia Shangzhou didn't let Lu Benlai off just like that. He continued to call out Lu Benlai's name louder and louder, and when he noticed that Lu Benlai was ignoring him, he even reached out to tug at Lu Benlai's pants, nearly ripping them off. Lu Benlai hurriedly pulled down his pants and sat up with a confused look on his face. "What's wrong? Xia Shangzhou. Little Lai Lai, tell me, am I right?" "Ah." Lu Benlai blinked his eyes in confusion. "What did you just say?" "I was reading a novel, so I didn't hear anything." "You're lying. Don't think that I didn't see you sneaking glances at me and boss." Xia Shangzhou exposed Lu Benlai's act without any hesitation. Lu Benlai still wanted to play dumb, but before he could say anything, Lin Jiege had already calmly looked at him and said, "Speak." Lu Benlai gritted his teeth as he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. At the same time, he cursed Xia Shangzhou 18 times in his heart. The heck, you never think of me when there's good things and you never let me off when there's bad things. Lu Benlai's mind raced for a moment before he finally spoke up with a smile. In order to avoid drawing fire onto himself, he intentionally spoke in a roundabout manner. Everyone is different. Take me for example. Ever since I got my wife, I've never privately chatted with other girls. Of course this includes Xiao as well. But in the game I still take good care of Xiao. After all, she's the only girl among the four of us, so it's only right for me to take care of her. I do it purely out of friendship and I trust that my wife will understand. Lu Benlai Jr. Little Lai Lai Boss Lai Lai Shi Yao and Yao Yang Lai Lu Mo Yao 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 Yang Yao I Lai I and Yu Yao I Yang Yao Lai Ya Yao Yang Yao Yao Yen Zhang Long Yao Yao is Yen of Lai of Luan of Yen. With, said Zhou my goddess. Of Yang was La Lu said with Shi Lin Lin Lu. Chapter 280. Had it been in the past, be it Lu Benlai or Xia Shangzhou, Lin Jiej's expression would always ease up as soon as they changed their words. But this time, even after Xia Shangzhou changed his words, the frown on Lin Jiej's forehead still deepened. Sensing that something was amiss, Lu Benlai picked up his book and flipped through the pages before lying back down on his bed. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll be going back to reading my book. Unlike Lu Benlai, Xia Shangzhou didn't nimbly dodge Lin Jiej's gaze. Instead, he stood on the spot and stared intently at Lin Jiej's face for a moment before speaking up warily. Boss, you can't be thinking of snatching my Xiao away from me, right? It was hard to tell what was going on with Lin Jiej, but right after Xia Shangzhou said those words, Lin Jiej suddenly strode over to the door and forcefully turned off the lights in the dormitory room. With a particularly awful tone, he said, "Go to sleep," before climbing onto his bed, pulled the blanket over his head, and lay there motionless. In an instant, the dormitory room fell into a pitch-black silence. Unwilling to give up, Xia Shangzhou tried to continue the conversation with Lin Jiej, but he barely managed to utter the word "boss" before Lu Benlai grabbed him. Xia Shangzhou subconsciously wanted to ask Lu Benlai what he was doing. As if reading Xia Shangzhou's thoughts, Lu Benlai pulled him onto his bed and covered his mouth forcefully. Ignoring Xia Shangzhou's struggle, Lu Benlai took out his phone, typed a line of words on his notebook, and passed it to Xia Shangzhou. "Are you stupid? Can't you see that there's something wrong with our boss?" After Xia Shangzhou was done reading, Lu Benlai continued typing. "Can't you tell? Our boss doesn't realize that he's in love with little Junior at all? If you believe me, you'd better not provoke our boss right now." Xia Shangzhou widened his eyes in shock. He instinctively wanted to speak up, but Lu Benlai covered his mouth tightly once more. Only then did Xia Shangzhou realize what was going on. He pointed to Lu Benlai's phone, gesturing for the latter to lend it to him. Understanding his intentions, Lu Benlai passed the phone over to Xia Shangzhou. Imitating Lu Benlai's actions, Xia Shangzhou typed on his notebook. "How is that possible? Boss isn't a fool. How could he not know whether he likes it or not?" After reading those words, Lu Benlai snatched the phone from Zhang Xian's hands and said, "The onlooker sees the game better than the onlooker. Do you understand? Besides, boss isn't a womanizer. He must have his reasons for doing this. Give him some time. If you force him too much, it will affect the relationship between brothers. So grandson, go to sleep now." Before Lu Benlai could finish his words, Xia Shangzhou had already snatched his phone away. "You're the one who's my grandson. Be more polite when you speak to me." In the blink of an eye, the phone was already in Lu Benlai's hands. "If only I knew that you were such a despicable person, I wouldn't have stopped you earlier. I would have just watched you die quietly." The two of them held onto their phones and argued with each other for a while before going back to their respective beds. Without the light from Lu Benlai's phone, the dormitory room seemed even darker, and it seemed even quieter. This kind of atmosphere made it easy for people to fall asleep. Not too long later, Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou fell asleep. Chapter 281. He stared fixedly at the ceiling for a very long time before thoughts began to form in his mind. He couldn't really remember the first time he met Soft Bun. All he remembered was that he hated this girl who had abruptly barged into his life. In truth, he couldn't really remember what she looked like back then. The only impression he had of her was that she was thin and shriveled, and her hair was yellow. She looked no different from a malnourished country bumpkin. After he warned her against entering his world, other than being forced to bear the title of fiancée, she really didn't disturb his life anymore. Until one day in the elevator of SKP Mall, he met her face to face. That day he didn't recognize her at all. In fact, when Liang Mumu said that she was Shi Yao, he was still a little skeptical. Back then he didn't think too much about it. He just thought that she was pretty. If his grandfather hadn't suddenly fallen ill, they probably wouldn't have had so many interactions. It was probably around that time that Yao Loves Ice Cream entered his life. Speaking of which, it really was quite a coincidence. He accidentally saw Yao Loves Ice Cream's Moments page and learned that she was a foodie. Then, for his grandfather's sake, he brought Soft Bun to Liang Juxi's gathering. That night he heard Soft Bun sing 3 food-related songs, and from there he learned that Soft Bun was a foodie. It was also that night that Soft Bun was mocked by someone. She felt wronged and for some reason he felt uncomfortable. In order to not embarrass Soft Bun, he kissed her. Less than 2 days later, when he was playing the game, Yao Loves Ice Cream was harassed by 2 passers-by. Just like how Soft Bun at Golden Resplendence was treated as a joke by others, he ended up helping Yao Loves Ice Cream once more. It was then that some things began. Yao Loves Ice Cream was Yao Loves Ice Cream, and Shi Yao was Shi Yao, but the two of them always gave him the same feeling. It was so similar that it felt as if they were from the same person. As a result, he was always uncontrollably doing things that even he himself could not understand. If not for Xia Shangzhou suddenly bringing it up tonight, he wouldn't have noticed anything amiss either. Xia Shangzhou had said that he likes Soft Bun. He had to admit that Soft Bun was a very special existence to him, so special that she was the only one who had given him such a special feeling over the years. Was this special feeling what Xia Shangzhou meant by like? Lin Jiej opened his eyes and pondered over the matter seriously for a very long time, but he was still unable to come up with a solution. Eventually he picked up his phone. He searched for Lin Jiej's WeChat, but just as he was about to type out a message, he suddenly recalled the person whom Lin Jiej once liked, and his fingers froze. This topic was too sensitive for her sister. Asking her about it was tantamount to tearing open her scars. Other than his sister, who else could he ask? Lin Jiej shot a glance at the 2 sleeping single dogs by the side before deciding to give up. Instead, he turned to the only person in the dormitory who had a girlfriend, Song Chaoshi, and asked, "How does it feel to like someone?" Song Chaoshi instantly replied, "I want to sleep with her." "Want to sleep with her?" Lin Jiej's face stiffened a little. Song Chaoshi replied, "Sleep is a verb." Verbs? Cough. Lin Jiej didn't respond to Song Chaoshi's message. With a reddened face he put down his phone. The one who was more unreliable than the netizens was his sister, and the one who was even more unreliable than his sister was probably Song Chaoshi. Chapter 282. Just as this thought surfaced in Lin Jiej's mind, he suddenly recalled a dream he had one night. In the dream, he and Soft Bun did some indescribable things. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej's face reddened even further, and even the tips of his ears felt a little hot. That dream of his, was it what Song Chaoshi had said? That he wanted to sleep with her? Alright, even if Song Chaoshi's words and Xia Shangzhou's words were true, and he did like Soft Bun, what about Yao Loves Ice Cream? I've never thought of sleeping with Yao Loves Ice Cream, so does that mean that I don't like Yao Loves Ice Cream? But if he didn't like Yao Shi craving ice cream, why would he help her when she was bullied in the game? Why was she unhappy? Why did he let her play games and teach her how to kill? Why did Xia Shangzhou have a screenshot of him riding the motorcycle with her, but he also had a screenshot of him dying with her? Just as Lu Benlai had said earlier, he would take good care of Yao Yao in the game, but it was purely out of friendship. What about him? Is this also friendship? But in all the years he had lived, he had never made friends with a female before. Why did such a thing happen when it came to Yao Shi? Also, Xia Shangzhou said that he was flirting with Yao Shi in the game? Could his actions be called flirting? But of all the girls in the world, it wasn't as if he had never been matched with a girl before. How could he treat Yao Shi like this? This was so much harder than solving a complicated math problem. Why did he have to encounter such a thing? It was simply toxic. The more Lin Jiej thought about it, the more confused he became. In the end, he couldn't help but flip around in frustration. Could it be that Yaoshi reminded him of Soft Bun? But why did Yaoshi feel so much like Soft Bun? It felt like a tongue twister. And the more Lin Jiej thought about it, the more confused he became. In the end, he couldn't help but shake his head forcefully to get rid of the confusing thoughts in his head. However, less than 2 seconds later, Lin Jiej began tossing and turning on the bed once more. In the end, a hint of anticipation surfaced in his mind. If only Soft Bun and Big White Chubby were the same person. On the weekend of this week, all the freshmen in G University would take their exams together. The subject was Introduction to the Basic Principles of Marxism. This examination was organized by the school. All the freshmen were randomly assigned to the examination hall. Actually, this kind of examination was mainly to let everyone have a higher level of understanding. Although the invigilator was G University's homeroom teacher, since the exam was not that important most of the time, homeroom teachers would send their own students to invigilate the exam on their behalf. Shi Yao's examination hall was on the 4th floor, whereas Lung Nuan and the others were on the 1st floor. After the 4 of them parted ways on the 1st floor, while Shi Yao was on her way up the stairs, she received He Tianqian's complaints in the WeChat group. Yao, when we were eating earlier, I was still complaining that you weren't in the same examination hall as us. But now, I'm glad that you're not in the same examination hall as us. As Shi Yao climbed up the stairs, she asked with her phone in her hand, "What's wrong?" Jiang Yu said, "Our supervisors are Farsh Qin and Han Jing." Following Jiang Yu's reply, He Tiantian took a photo and sent it over. Han Jing wasn't in the photo, only Qin Yiran. She looked much thinner than before, and even though she had put on some makeup, the dark circles around her eyes were still apparent. Shi Yao took a quick glance at the photo before turning to Lung Nuan's message. "Yao, who's your invigilator?" Dash. Chapter 283. It just so happened that Shi Yao was already at the entrance of the examination hall. She replied with a, "Let me take a look," before turning her gaze toward the classroom. A tall man dressed in a simple white t-shirt was standing in front of the podium, tidying up the examination papers. Even though his head was slightly lowered, preventing her from seeing his face clearly, Shi Yao still recognized him with a single glance. It can't be, right? What a coincidence. Lin Jiej is actually the invigilator? Shi Yao's footsteps toward the classroom instinctively froze. It was only when an examinee walked over and reminded her that she was blocking the way that Shi Yao finally snapped out of her daze. She hurriedly apologized while taking half a step to the side. It was only when the examinee she was blocking finally entered the examination hall that she realized that this was her examination hall as well. All she had to do was to give way to him. There was no need for her to step to the side. Shi Yao cursed herself for her foolishness in her mind before moving back to the entrance of the examination hall and making her way into the classroom. After tidying up the examination papers, Lin Jiej seemed to have sensed someone approaching from the entrance, so he casually turned his head to look at Shi Yao. Sensing Lin Jiej's gaze, Shi Yao's footsteps subconsciously came to a halt. A few days ago, when he sent her a text message, he said that they were friends. Did that mean that all the words he'd said to her not to interact with him had become invalid? As a friend, shouldn't she greet him now? While she was deep in thought, someone suddenly darted over and greeted, "Little Junior, what a coincidence." Shi Yao instinctively turned her head over and saw that it was Lu Benlai. Just like the first time they met during the physical education class, he was wearing a pink short-sleeved shirt. The short-sleeved shirt is nice, but does it have to be so fashionable? Shi Yao muttered under her breath before turning to Lu Benlai with a smile and greeting. "Hello, Senior Lu." As soon as Shi Yao said those words, Lu Benlai could clearly sense that there was something wrong with the aura emanating from Lin Jiej. Did I go too far with my words earlier? Shouldn't I have greeted little Junior first? Instead, she ended up greeting me first? Lu Benlai's eyes darted around in thought, but in the next second, he clutched his stomach and said, My stomach hurts a little, so I'm going to the toilet. You guys continue chatting." As he spoke, Lu Benlai slipped out of the classroom. Completely oblivious to what was going on, Shi Yao thought that since she had already greeted Senior Lu, she should greet Lin Jiej as well. Thus, she turned to Lin Jiej and greeted him with a smile. "Good morning, Senior Lin." "Good morning, Senior Lin." "Good morning, Senior Lu." He had two more words than Lu Benlai. Lin Jiej's mood immediately lightened up, so much so that he replied, "Morning. What's your candidate number?" Shi Yao took out her examinee token and took a look at it. 26. Lin Jiej casually pointed to the table on his right and said, "The fourth row is your seat." She had wanted to see how the examinee numbers were arranged, but who could have thought that Lin Jiej would actually tell her about it? Shi Yao immediately replied with a smile, "Thank you, Senior Lin." After which she said, "I'll be heading to my seat then." Lin Jiej calmly nodded his head and replied with an "un." Chapter 284. Hearing those words, Shi Yao's legs trembled, and she nearly fell to the ground. Cheating? Who's going to cheat? I have Marxism memorized so well that there's no need for me to cheat at all. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao raised her head and glared at Lin Jiej angrily. She puffed up her cheeks and made her face round, putting on an adorable expression. "What are you looking at me for? Are you trying to act cute?" Lin Jiej couldn't help but take a few more glances before reluctantly lowering his head. While distributing the papers, he said, "Even if you want to act cute, I won't allow you to cheat." Shi Yao widened her eyes. "Act cute? Which eye of his saw that I'm acting cute? Forget it, seeing that he's the substitute invigilator today. I won't hold it against him." Shi Yao pouted. This time, not only did she not say a word, she didn't even wave her hands anymore. Instead, she returned to her seat and sat down. Shi Yao and the others had entered the examination hall on time, so it didn't take them more than a few minutes before the examination bell rang. Lu Benlai and Lin Jiej each took half of the papers. Initially, Lu Benlai was standing by the window, but before he could distribute the papers, he noticed that Lin Jiej was staring at him motionlessly. His hand froze for a moment, and it took him 2 seconds to realize that there was a little junior sitting by the window. Thus, he tactfully ran over to the side by the door and began distributing the papers. After the papers were distributed, the entire classroom fell silent. All of the examinees were leaning on their tables, gesturing at their papers with their pens. Lin Jiej was standing by the first row of windows, and he had been staring at Shi Yao from the start of the examination. As soon as Soft Bun received her papers, she began writing furiously. Looking at her, did she really know how to do it? Or was she just scribbling nonsense? Speaking of which, she looked rather earnest and adorable. Her lips were muttering silently. Is she reading the questions? As the saying goes, only fools read the questions silently. For someone like him, he could tell what the answer was with just a glance. It didn't take long for Lin Jiej to notice that Shi Yao had flipped the papers. She's done blindsiding the first page, and she's going to blindsiding the second page? If not for the fact that he was an invigilator and couldn't use his phone, he would have really wanted to take a photo of this scene. 40 minutes into the examination, Shi Yao's pen finally stopped. She finished the 2-hour exam in 40 minutes? Sure enough, guessing was faster than answering the questions seriously. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej changed his posture and continued staring at Shi Yao. Shi Yao's attention had been completely focused on the question, so she didn't pay much attention to her surroundings. However, now that she was done answering the question, she realized that Lin Jiej's gaze had been glued to her all this while as she slowly checked for any typos. What did he mean? Afraid that she would cheat? After correcting 2 typos and confirming that there were no problems with the paper, she noticed that Lin Jiej was still staring at her. So she put down the paper and cupped her chin in her hand, mimicking Lin Jiej's stare. Why is Soft Bun staring at me? It was one thing for her to look, but she would blink from time to time. Was she trying to seduce him? Could it be that Soft Bun had made a cheat sheet and was unable to cheat under his watchful eyes, so she was using such a method to hint at him? Did she think that by blinking at him a few times he would allow her to cheat? Was he such a shameless person? As these thoughts flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, he saw Shi Yao blink once more. Alright, on account that she's Soft Bun, I'll reluctantly bend the rules this time. Chapter 285. Lin Jiej stared at Shuyao for a moment longer before he reluctantly averted his gaze and looked elsewhere. This time Soft Bun must be overjoyed. She can finally copy her cheat sheets without any worries. But in the end, Lin Jiej was still a little curious, so he would discreetly sneak glances at Shuyao from time to time. Is Soft Bun that timid? I haven't looked at her for so long, but she still doesn't dare to cheat? Frowning, Lin Jiej fell into deep thought for a moment before his gaze finally fell on Lu Benlai, who was seated at the lectern with his chin propped up in his hands, seemingly on the verge of falling asleep. It can't be that this fellow is interfering with Soft Bun's cheat sheets, right? Lin Jiej lowered his gaze. Since I've already made up my mind to help Soft Bun this once, I'll surely do it to the end. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej walked over to Lu Benlai's side and began chatting awkwardly with him. While they were chatting awkwardly, Lin Jiej didn't forget to sneak glances at Shuyao from time to time. The young lady finally stopped staring at him. Instead, she was holding a pen in her hand and scribbling something on the table, seemingly distracted. Is she using this distracted look to conceal the fact that she's sneaking glances at her cheat sheets? I didn't think that Soft Bun would be an acting queen on top of being a glutton, but then again, acting Queen Bun does sound pretty nice. With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej's lips curled up into a smile that even he himself didn't notice. Lu Benlai, who was in the midst of discussing Lin Jiej's mathematics problem with a serious expression, asked in bewilderment, "Boss, what are you smiling about?" "Am I smiling?" Lin Jiej raised his hand slightly to cover his lips before clearing his throat. His usual cold and aloof expression returned to his face as he said, "It's nothing much. Continue speaking." While Lu Benlai was carrying on with their conversation, Lin Jiej stole a glance at Shuyao for the umpteenth time. Judging from her appearance, she was no longer scribbling randomly like before. Most likely, she was seriously writing something. Is she finally starting to copy her cheat sheets? Lin Jiej intentionally avoided looking at Shuyao and continued chatting with Lu Benlai. It was only after Shuyao put down her brush that he finally stopped his conversation with Lu Benlai. He leisurely walked back to the window and leaned lazily against it as he gazed at Shuyao. The girl was actually looking at him. More importantly, even if she was looking at him, the hand she placed on the table was actually gently waving at him. Was she asking him to go over? Lin Jiej stood still on the spot, his gaze still fixed on Shuyao's face. It was only when Shuyao waved at him once more that he feigned a helpless expression and straightened his back. As if patrolling the classroom, he walked around it once before stopping right in front of Shuyao. Shuyao pushed a very small folded piece of paper over to him. Did Soft Bun fail to find the answers in the cheat sheet, so she started looking for him to cheat? As an invigilator, if he were to obey her, he would be helping the wicked. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't picking up the paper, Shuyao thought that he hadn't seen it yet, so she pushed the paper closer to Lin Jiej. At the same time, she even winked at him, gesturing for him to take it. She was trying to seduce him again. Chapter 286. Lin Jiej continued walking around the examination hall before stopping in front of the podium. He pulled out the crumpled examination paper that Lu Benlai had placed under his arm. To think that he would succumb to the temptation and end up siding with a tyrant. But honestly, it shouldn't be that serious, right? At the very most, it's an unspoken rule. Lin Jiej read through the examination paper while memorizing the answers in his mind. His mind wandered off at the same time. The unspoken rule for others was to sleep with her, but he was to blink his eyes? Wouldn't it make him look like he was a little too weak to resist? Besides, did Soft Bun really need to sleep with him? At the very most, it was just the husband following the wife's lead. It was only when Lin Jiej was almost done reading through the answers for the multiple choice and fill-in-the-blank questions that he confirmed that Shuyao would be able to score at least 80 marks that he picked up a pencil from the table, tossed "I'm going to the washroom" to Lu Benlai, and walked out of the examination hall. Lin Jiej quickly entered the washroom and locked the cubicle door before taking out the slip of paper Shuyao had given him from his pocket. In all his years of living, this was the first time he was helping someone cheat. Just the thought of it was exhilarating. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej unfolded the slip of paper and picked up the pen. Just as he was about to jot down all of the answers he had just memorized, He suddenly saw a sentence, "I still owe you a meal." This was completely different from what he had expected. Isn't this cheating? Why is it a meal? Lin Jiej was taken aback for a moment before he continued reading. I just finished my examination, and I don't have any classes in the afternoon. If you're free, I'll treat you to a meal today. If you agree to it, please tick the food you want to eat from the options below. A. Mala fragrant pot. B. Crayfish. C. Skewers. D. Hot pot. E. Beijing cuisine. F. Hunan cuisine. G. Cantonese cuisine. Isn't passing a slip of paper in the examination hall cheating? It's actually a multiple choice question. So, when I was chatting awkwardly with Lu Benlai earlier, she wasn't scribbling notes at all but writing these instead? Having been given a tight slap by reality, Lin Jiej didn't know whether he should be happy or sad. He stood in the washroom for a long while before a thought came to his mind. It's definitely not me, but Soft Bun is different from normal people. Sighing helplessly, Lin Jiej picked up his pen and wrote on the paper, "I choose H anything." As Lin Jiej folded the paper, he hesitated for a moment before tearing out the words that he had just written. He folded the rest of Shi Yao's words neatly and placed them back into his pocket. This seems to be the first time Soft Bun has sent me a note. I should keep it as a souvenir. By the time Lin Jiej returned to the examination hall, Shi Yao had returned to the time when he was chatting awkwardly with Lu Benlai, and she was absent-mindedly scribbling on a piece of paper. Since she wasn't making a cheat sheet, then her absent-mindedness was truly absent-mindedness. Then what was she drawing on the paper? While Lin Jiej was deep in thought, he had already walked up to Shi Yao's table. Noticing his arrival, Shi Yao raised her head to look at him. Lin Jiej casually tossed the paper back onto the table, and before he left, he shot a glance at Shi Yao's brush. It was just a single glance, but he nearly choked on his own saliva. Soft Bun wasn't scribbling on a piece of paper but drawing. Not only that, the paper was filled with food, strawberries, apples, oranges, ice cream, candies. Soft Bun was completely immersed in the world of foodies. Chapter 287. After Lin Jiej left, Shi Yao carefully opened the paperslip he had left on her table. H whatever. She had clearly written ABCDFG, but there was no H option at all. Lin Jiej's answer was completely irrelevant. If Lin Jiej were to take the examination with such an attitude, he would surely fail. If there was a restaurant chain in the world called whatever, it would surely be a hit. If while Shi Yao's thoughts were running wild, the examination finally came to an end. Just like when they were distributing the papers, Lu Benlai collected the papers from the examinees closest to the door while Lin Jiej collected the papers from Shi Yao's side. Compared to Lu Benlai's amiable smile, Lin Jiej's expression was unbelievably cold. His posture didn't look like he was collecting papers but more like he was collecting a debt. Seated on the third seat from the bottom of the row to Shi Yao's right was a beautiful young lady. She was dressed fashionably, and her hair was dyed the most popular shade of honey brown this year. It was a very eye-catching sight. Throughout the examination, Honey Brown had raised her hand 3 times, and every time she did so, her gaze would always be directed at Lin Jiej. However, the one who had approached her was Lu Benlai. Lu Benlai was the first to collect the papers from Honey Brown's row. Most of the examinees had already left the examination hall after their papers were collected, but she was still seated before her table, reapplying her lipstick and tidying up her makeup bag with a mirror in her hand. Lin Jiej had started collecting the papers from the window, and Shi Yao was seated in the middle. Looking at it this way, she should be the 4th last among Lin Jiej's examinees. It didn't take long for most of the examinees to leave the examination hall, but Honey Brown was still there. When Lin Jiej received the 3rd seat from Shi Yao's row, which was the seat to the left of Honey Brown Lady turned her head around and smiled at Lin Jiej. Before the other students in the classroom, she asked politely, "Senior Lin, may I know if you're free later on?" It was hard to tell whether Lin Jiej didn't hear her or he was feigning ignorance, but he quickly took the paper from the examinee on Honey Brown's left and moved on to the next examinee. The Honey Brown girl wasn't discouraged. "Senior Lin, if you're busy now, I'll wait for you to finish collecting the test papers." Before Honey Tan Lady could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already reached Shi Yao's side and said, "Give me a moment." I'll take around 10 minutes. Shi Yao knew that Lin Jiej was referring to her treating him to a meal, but Honey Tea was talking to him. Shi Yao subconsciously turned her head to look at Honey Tea. Where was she looking when he was talking to her? A slight frown appeared on Lin Jiej's forehead. Using the paper in his hand, he patted Shi Yao's face lightly so that she wouldn't be able to see the honey-brown lady. Did you hear what I said? Shi Yao's face was grazed by the paper, and she glared at Lin Jiej angrily. You heard it. Acting cute again. Lin Jiej couldn't help but smack Shi Yao's head once more before collecting the remaining 3 examination papers. After which, he walked up to the podium and placed them together with Lu Benlai's examination papers into a sealed folder. Although Lin Jiej said that he would take 10 minutes, it actually took him less than 5 minutes to deliver the examination papers to the teacher's office before heading back to Shi Yao's examination hall. Chapter 288. Only Shi Yao and the Honey Tea Lady were left in the spacious classroom, and it felt a little deserted. The Honey Tea Lady was still fiddling with her cosmetics. Even though her actions were very ladylike, the way she would glance out of the door from time to time betrayed her impatience. With this in mind, Shi Yao became much calmer. Just like during the examination, she was scribbling on a piece of paper to pass the time. Lin Jiej didn't enter the examination hall. Instead, he stood at the entrance. A small portion of the sunlight filtered through the window and fell on Shi Yao's body, making her skin appear even more exquisite. Lin Jiej was just about to call out to Shi Yao, but the words stuck in his throat. He couldn't help but stare at her intently, but it was a pity that it didn't take long for someone to shatter this beautiful moment. Senior Lin, as the Honey Tea Lady spoke, Shi Yao turned her head toward the entrance. Meeting her gaze, Lin Jiej ignored the Honey Tea Lady and said to Shi Yao, "Let's go." Shi Yao replied with an "oh" as she began packing her things. In this moment, the Honey Tea Lady was already standing elegantly in front of Lin Jiej with her pink Chanel bag in hand. "Senior Lin, I'm Luo Guan, a Year 1 student from the Chinese faculty. May I know if you have the time? Can I treat you to a meal?" While the Honey Tea Lady was speaking, Shi Yao was already walking over with her bag in hand. Lin Jiej was intending to continue ignoring the girl who was trying to strike up a conversation with him, but when he saw Shi Yao walking toward him, he pondered for 2 seconds before saying, "I'm sorry, but you'll have to ask her that question." The Honey Tea Lady was stunned for 2 seconds before she turned to look at Shi Yao. Shi Yao was also taken aback by Lin Jiej's words. Why in the world did he have to drag her into the conversation when another girl asked him out for a meal? The Honey Tea Lady's eyes were filled with disdain as she looked at Shi Yao. When she saw the clothes Shi Yao was wearing and the outdated bag she was carrying, a hint of disdain surfaced in her eyes. Shi Yao was no fool. She could see the provocation in the other party's eyes, but she paid it no heed. Instead, she turned to look at Lin Jiej. She wanted to ask Lin Jiej, "Why are you asking me?" But barely after she moved her lips, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. His tone was still as nonchalant as before, but compared to the tone he used to speak to that girl earlier, there was a tinge of adoration in his words. "Don't worry, I won't go out to eat with other girls behind your back." What did it have to do with her whether or not he went out to eat with other girls? Shi Yao widened her eyes in shock. Without giving Shi Yao a chance to speak, Lin Jiej spoke up once more. This time, his words were directed at Honey Tea Lady. "I'm sorry, but I can't accept your proposal. Look, my Yao Yao is already a little unhappy." No, unhappy." Which eye of his saw that she was unhappy? Also, my Yao Yao, since when she is his Yao Yao. Shi Yao opened her mouth, but just as she was about to speak, Lin Jiej had already walked up to her and snatched her bag from her hands. After which, he wrapped his arm around her waist and pulled her toward the door. Shi Yao's body instinctively froze as she tried to struggle free. Chapter 289. As he spoke, Lin Jiej discreetly shot a glance behind him. The Honey Tea Lady's complexion turned a little awkward and awful. It was only then that Lin Jiej retracted his gaze in relief. However, he didn't stop coaxing Shi Yao. Due to the distance between them, He even raised his voice a little. Besides, she said quite a few words to me back then. But didn't I just ignore her? I didn't want to talk to her either, but that won't do. I have to reject her. If I don't reject her, she might think that I'm ignoring her. Wouldn't that be even more troublesome? Lin Jiej spoke one sentence after another, not giving Shi Yao a chance to speak at all. It wasn't until they were out of the teaching block and out of the honey tea lady's sight that Lin Jiej finally stopped talking after Shi Yao's repeated, wait. She had been in Lin Jiej's embrace for the entire journey, and it was summer. Her clothes were thin, so she could clearly feel the warmth and firmness of his chest. On top of that, the fragrance from his body continued to seep into her nose. It made Shi Yao's heart race. When Lin Jiej finally stopped talking, she blushed and muttered "Whoa you," for a long while before she finally realized what she wanted to say. What are you doing? Oh. In contrast to Shi Yao's nervousness, Lin Jiej appeared much calmer. I'm asking for your help. Asking for my help? Shi Yao blinked her eyes in confusion as she looked at Lin Jiej. It was only then that she realized that she was still in Lin Jiej's embrace. Her face heated up once more, and she instinctively lowered her head to struggle out of Lin Jiej's embrace. She was going to ask him what he meant by asking for his help, but she found herself unable to bring herself to say it. The atmosphere between the two of them fell silent for a moment before Lin Jiej spoke up. I didn't have the time to inform you in advance, so I acted on my own. What I meant by asking for your help is to use you as a shield to reject that lady. After a moment of silence, Lin Jiej asked, You don't mind, right? Of course he wouldn't mind at all, but he had to carry her for such a long distance. With a reddened face, Shi Yao didn't know how she should respond to Lin Jiej's question, so she chose to remain silent. Lin Jiej stared at her reddened neck for a moment before speaking up apologetically. I thought that we were friends, so I thought that you wouldn't mind. If you did, I wouldn't have asked you to help me so casually in the future. Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej had misunderstood her, so she hurriedly shook her head and interjected, and I don't mind at all. She was just a little embarrassed. But how could she say such words out loud? Shi Yao pondered for a moment before changing the topic. About that, aren't we going to eat? Let's eat spicy hot pot, what do you think? Lin Jiej nodded, looking as if he was willing to eat anything. Sure. Lin Jiej paused for a moment before adding, lead the way. Shi Yao replied with a before making her way to the entrance of the academy. Lin Jiej quickly followed suit. Along the way, the two of them didn't speak at all, but Lin Jiej would occasionally sneak glances at Shi Yao. As he stared at her, he couldn't help but recall how he had hugged her waist earlier. Even though they were separated by a layer of clothes, he could still feel the softness of her body. Chapter 290. Even though they were separated by a layer of clothes, he could still feel the softness of her body. Her waist was very slender and it really felt like he could wrap his arms around it. The smell of her body was very pleasant, just like her granny's sweet. As Lin Jiej thought about it, his gaze couldn't help but fall on Shi Yao's waist. Due to the fact that she was walking, Shi Yao's waist was constantly swaying. Lin Jiej's gaze followed the movement of her waist, and as time went by, his ears began to heat up. He was actually thinking that if she wasn't wearing any clothes, would the skin around her waist be very soft and smooth? Why would such a wicked thought suddenly appear in his mind? In fact, he even had the urge to do so. Could this be the desire to sleep with her phenomenon that Song Chaoshi had told him about? Shi Yao brought Lin Jiej to a spicy hot pot restaurant. It was a chain restaurant located in a shopping mall near their school. It was noon, so the restaurant was quite crowded. The two of them had to queue up for a while before they were finally seated. Shi Yao was the one who had ordered the dishes, and when the waiter asked for her preference, Shi Yao asked Lin Jiej, is super spicy and super spicy fine? Slightly spicy and slightly numb isn't fine, let alone super spicy and super spicy. Such were Lin Jiej's thoughts, but he maintained a calm expression on his face, as if there was nothing wrong with it. He nodded and replied nonchalantly, sure. After a moment of silence, Lin Jiej turned to the waiter and added, another bowl of plain white rice. Less than 20 minutes after the waiter left after placing the order, the dishes were served. Lin Jiej looked at the bowl filled with chili peppers in shock. Under Shi Yao's enthusiastic greeting, he fearfully picked up a small piece of pork belly and placed it in his bowl of rice. He poked the pork belly into the rice and rolled it around a few times to remove most of the chili on it, before putting it into his mouth. However, it only took a single bite for Lin Jiej to stop due to the spicy taste. Unwilling to let Shi Yao see his abnormal reaction, he forced himself to maintain a composed expression. It took a long while before he finally swallowed the small piece of pork belly into his stomach. He raised his head to look at Shi Yao. She was eating happily, as if she was eating a completely different dish from him. She seems to have a good appetite for spicy food. It seemed that in order to live a harmonious life in the future, he also had to learn to eat spicy food. Well, then the menu of Dormitory 501 next week would be steamed fish head with chopped hot red pepper, spicy tofu, boiled beef, duck blood curd, spicy chicken. However, Lin Jiej didn't waste too much time on the food because he suddenly thought of something more important: soft bun and big white chubby. Last night he tossed and turned the entire night, unable to fall asleep. Even when the sun rose, he still could not find an exit. Just as Lu Ben had said, he would still take care of Yaoshi in the game. After all, Yaoshi was his only girl, and he trusted that the girl he liked would be able to understand him. Should I ask Softbun about it and see what she thinks about it? Lin Jiej's eyelids drooped slightly as he pondered for a moment. Then, he raised his head and called out, "Shi Yao." Shi Yao, who was in the midst of toying with the mala fragrant pot, suddenly raised her head and asked, Lin Jiej, it's like this. There's something that I would like to hear your opinion on. Is that all right? Shi Yao nodded vehemently. Sure. Lin Jiej took a moment to organize his thoughts before saying, however, he only managed to utter a single word before coming to a halt. Isn't it a little inappropriate to say me directly? Chapter 291. He's quite close to both of them. He's interacted with Girla quite a bit in his life, and the two of them have experienced many things together. How should I put it? Their relationship is closer than that of friends, but they're not lovers yet. At this point, Shi Yao, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke up. In other words, your friend has an ambiguous relationship with Girl A, right? So Girl A is her. She said that she has an ambiguous relationship with him? For some reason, Lin Jiej found the word ambiguous to be very pleasing to the ears. His lips couldn't help but curl up into a smile as he replied, it does seem rather ambiguous. When my friend learns that Girl A is unhappy, he'll try his best to console her. When he learns that it's Girl A's birthday, he'll try his best to celebrate it with her. When he sees Girl A being bullied, he'll also stand up for her. My friend will also remember the things that Girl A likes. All in all, my friend's feelings for Girl A are. At this point, Lin Jiej suddenly found himself at a loss for words. On the other hand, Shi Yao interjected, then your friend seems to like Girl A quite a bit. Lin Jiej's fingers trembled slightly as he asked, you think so too? What do you mean by I think so too? Isn't that just liking her? Shi Yao blinked her eyes in confusion. Isn't it just liking her? You can't tell how much your friend loves Girl A from what you've said. But I'm certain that he likes her. Since even Softbun has said so, does that mean that he really likes her? So this is what it feels like to like someone. Lin Jiej was immersed in his thoughts, not saying a word for a long time. After a while, Shi Yao couldn't help but urge him. Why aren't you continuing? Lin Jiej replied with an "oh" before recovering from his daze. Didn't my friend get to know two girls? He met Girl B on the internet by chance, but they've never met in real life, so they don't know much about each other. After all, he doesn't know Girl B in real life, so my friend isn't as close to her as he is to Girl A. However, their relationship on the internet is still pretty good. When Girl B is unhappy, he'll console her. When Girl B wants to play, he'll accompany her. When someone kills Girl B, he'll try his best to avenge her. This sounds a little like me and Mr. Numbers, Shi Yao thought, but she didn't interrupt Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej, how should I put it to you? Anyway, my friend's relationship with Girl B isn't that simple. Then my other roommate said that he's two-timing. He has Girl A, but he's still flirting with Girl B. Shi Yao blinked her eyes blankly as she caught on to the point that she was interested in. Is this friend of yours your roommate? Gosh, I didn't pay attention and gave myself away. Lin Jiej nodded without any change in his expression. Sure, Yao. Which roommate is it then? Is it that flashy yellow strawberry? Or dark blue pineapple bro? Yellow strawberry bro? Dark blue pineapple brother? What was going on? Lin Jiej was perplexed. Chapter 292. At this point, Shi Yao also realized that it wasn't appropriate for her to give others nicknames in secret, so she chuckled sheepishly and went straight to the point. The guy who asked Lung Nuan for her number is the flamboyant yellow strawberry bro, and the other guy is the deep blue pineapple bro. After getting to the main point, Shi Yao couldn't help but ask, which roommate is it? He's two-timing? Even she thinks that he's two-timing too? Lin Jiej's heart sank, and he found himself at a loss for words. Shi Yao pressed on. Is it the guy who asked Lung Nuan for her number? Lin Jiej shook his head. Shi Yao replied with an "oh" before coming to a conclusion, so, it's that deep blue pineapple bro. He looks like a good person, but I didn't think that he would be such a playboy. Playboy? Lin Jiej's heart sank to the bottom of the abyss once more. So, Soft Bun thinks that I'm a fickle person too. Shi Yao vaguely sensed that something was amiss with Lin Jiej. She looked at him and blinked twice. What's wrong? Lin Jiej reined in his thoughts and shook his head before replying calmly. It's nothing. He paused for a moment before recalling that Shi Yao had given Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai nicknames, but he was the only one who hadn't. Thus he asked, tell me honestly, did you give me any nicknames too? Shi Yao shook her head vehemently. No, I definitely didn't. Lin Jiej, who really wanted a nickname, continued tempting her. It's fine even if you did. Shi Yao shook her head vigorously. I swear I definitely didn't. If I did, I'd be Little Egg Roll. Alright then. Seeing that there was no hope, Lin Jiej could only give up. A moment later, Lin Jiej still felt a little indignant, so he asked once more. Do you really think that my friend is two-timing and a playboy? Shi Yao tilted her head to the side as she replied earnestly. A little. Well, it's not exactly accurate to say that he's two-timing. After all, he's not with anyone at all. However, his actions aren't very good. He's flirting with two girls. Just imagine if the girl you like is flirting with another guy. After pondering for a second, Lin Jiej finally spoke up with a stern voice. I won't give another man a chance. It was just a hypothesis, but Lin Jiej actually took it so seriously? Shi Yao's face reddened for a moment before she continued. Besides, if both of them have feelings for your friend, they'll surely be devastated if they find out that there's another girl around. What about you? Lin Jiej asked. Shi Yao was a little taken aback. Lin Jiej continued asking, if you were one of the girls, would you be sad? The point was that she wasn't. But it was just a hypothetical question. It didn't matter if she tried it out. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao tried to imagine what Lin Jiej had said earlier, and a moment later she said, I'm a little sad. After all, who wouldn't want the person they love to be completely devoted to them? I see. Lin Jiej replied before falling silent. A moment later he spoke up once more. His voice was a little soft, as if he was talking to himself. I know what I should do now. Shi Yao didn't hear what he was saying, so she asked in bewilderment, what is it? Lin Jiej was too distracted to notice Shi Yao's words, but he was still mumbling softly, I won't let you be sad. Chapter 293. Lin Jiej was in a daze, so he didn't notice Shi Yao's words. However, his lips were still muttering softly, I won't let you be sad. The cafeteria was extremely noisy. Shi Yao tried her hardest, but she only managed to hear two words, and they weren't very accurate either. Dessert? What dessert? Perhaps it was Shi Yao's slightly raised voice that jolted Lin Jiej back to his senses. He stared at Shi Yao for 2 seconds before realizing that his mind had wandered off for a moment. He quickly gathered his thoughts and replied with an impassive tone. No, I'm just saying that I have something on in the afternoon. If you're done eating, let's go. In the end, the one who footed the bill was still Lin Jiej. He used the excuse that Shi Yao had helped him reject the honey tea girl, and answered his friend's question to pay the bill. The two of them parted at the entrance of the school. After Shi Yao left, Lin Jiej stood under a parasol tree at the entrance of the school for a very long time, seemingly caught in some kind of dilemma. Eventually, he made his way to a supermarket opposite the entrance of the school, and when he came out, he was holding a bag in his hands. When he returned to his dormitory room, Xia Shangzhou and Lu Binlai were both there. One was reading a novel while sipping on a maidong, and the other was watching a movie. Hearing the dull thud, Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou reflexively turned to look at the entrance of the dormitory room. Then the two of them greeted Lin Jiej with a boss, before returning to their novel and movie. Unlike before, Lin Jiej didn't walk over to his seat and sit down. Instead, he stopped in front of Lu Binlai and Xia Shangzhou and said, "I have something to tell you." Lu Binlai's gaze remained on his book as he replied, "I'm all ears." Xia Shangzhou stared at the computer screen intently as he replied, "I'm all ears." Lin Jiej was already used to the two of them teasing each other, so he went straight to the main topic. From today onward, room 501's menu will be changing. Lu Binlai immediately put down the novel in his hand and turned to Lin Jiej, "Boss, does this mean that we won't be eating porridge or buns with my dong anymore?" Xia Shangzhou quickly paused the movie. "Boss, do you mean that I don't need instant noodles and my dong for my supper anymore?" Facing the excited and expectant gazes of the duo, Lin Jiej's tone remained unhurried. Monday is steamed red pepper fish head, Tuesday is spicy tofu, Wednesday is boiled beef, Thursday is duck blood curd, Friday is spicy chicken, Saturday is spicy pot prawns, Sunday is hot and sour noodles. Initially, Lu Binlai's eyes lit up in excitement. However, as he listened to the latter half of the story, his face suddenly turned a little grim. "Boss, are they all spicy? There will be pimples." Xia Shangzhou looked equally distressed. "I'll also suffer from internal heat, nosebleeds and blisters all over my mouth. I might even get hemorrhoids." In the face of the duo's grievances, Lin Jiej calmly added, "Oh, I forgot to add 3 words to the names of the dishes." Thinking that there was something to look forward to, Xia Shangzhou and Lu Binlai immediately perked up. Lin Jiej replied calmly, "Match it with pulsation." "Ah, baby don't want, baby refuse. Baby don't want, baby refuse +1. Amidst the wails of the duo, Lin Jiej walked up to Xia Shangzhou and tossed the things he had bought from the supermarket onto the table. Chapter 294. Taken aback, Xia Shangzhou pointed to himself in disbelief and asked, "You gave it to me?" Lu Binlai couldn't help but exclaim in envy, "Boss, why did you buy things for old Xia and not me?" Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to respond to Lu Binlai. He simply nodded at Xia Shangzhou. "This means that boss has me in his heart," Xia Shangzhou said gleefully as he opened the bag Lin Jiej had tossed on the table. He stared at the shampoo, towel, socks, and hand sanitizer for a moment before turning to Lin Jiej. "Boss, why are they daily necessities and not cigarettes? You bought them for me previously, so I'm returning them to you now." Lin Jiej fell silent for a moment before lowering his eyes to conceal the emotions in them. With a calm voice, he continued, "Other than changing the menu in room 501, there's one more thing. I won't be playing games with you and Yao loves ice cream anymore." Having said all that he wanted to say, Lin Jiej returned to his seat and sat down. Xia Shangzhou and Lu Binlai were stunned. After a long while, the two of them glanced at one another before turning their gazes to Lin Jiej, who was leaning against the back of his chair and staring at the dark screen of his laptop. "Lu Binlai, boss, we can still play games, right?" Xia Shangzhou, "That's right. It's just playing games. There's nothing wrong with that, right?" Lu Binlai, "Besides, it's just the 4 of us. It'll be a mess if we lose one more person." Lin Jiej didn't move at all despite the two of them talking back and forth. It was hard to tell whether it was because he was in a bad mood or because he was annoyed by the two of them, but he suddenly turned around and said impatiently, "I said that I'm not playing anymore, and I'm a man of my words. If I continue playing games with Yao loves ice cream, I'll be inhumane." Xia Shangzhou and Lu Binlai could tell that Lin Jiej was serious, so neither of them dared to say a word. In an instant, the dormitory room fell silent. Without even looking at the two of them, Lin Jiej sat in his seat for a moment longer before picking up his phone, tapping into WeChat, searching for Yao Loves Ice Cream, and adding her to his blacklist. He stared at the pop-up page for a moment before confirming it, after which he tossed his phone onto the table and walked to the balcony. Was it reluctance? A little. But no matter how reluctant he was, he had to do it, because Soft Bun had said that she would be sad, and he would never let her be sad. Never. During dinner, the three of them from room 501 ate together. Just as Lin Jiej had said, since it was a weekend, they ordered hot and sour noodles. As the three of them hovered between life and death due to the spiciness, they barely managed to finish 1/5 of the hot and sour noodles before throwing the rest into the trash can. After lunch, Yao Loves Ice Cream started asking in the Sexy and Frisky group to play together. Before starting, Lu Binlai turned to Lin Jiej and asked, "Boss, are you coming?" Seeing that Lin Jiej had no intention of responding to him, he clicked Start and began playing with Xia Shangzhou and Yao Loves Ice Cream. Before the game started, Xia Shangzhou said, "Boss has something to do tonight, so he can't play." Seated on the chair, Lin Jiej's fingers trembled upon hearing those words. He knew that it was probably Yao Shi who had asked him. Lin Jiej switched on his laptop, intending to work on his project, but Xia Shangzhou and Lu Binlai's voices kept ringing in his ears. "Sis Yao, there's a level 3 Spetsnaz helmet here. Sis Yao, hide yourself. Sis Yao." Lin Jiej really wanted to block out their voices, but no matter how hard he tried, he was unable to do so. In the end, he put on his earphones and went to play as well. He was also playing in a 4-player mode, but it was a 1v4. After 3 rounds, he landed on the ground and turned into a crate. For the 4th round, Lin Jiej intentionally chose a secluded area, and when he landed on the ground, he had no idea what was going through his mind. But by the time he came to his senses, the first blue circle had already appeared. There was no way he could pick up the equipment anymore, so he had to get out of the blue circle first. He stood on the spot and glanced left and right, intending to look for a car. However, a gunshot suddenly sounded, and he turned into a crate. A row of red words appeared on the screen. Yao Loves Ice Cream. Eliminated 111,111 with M416. Chapter 295. Yao Loves Ice Cream. Eliminated 111,111 with M416. Lin Jiej. Lu Binlai. Xia Shangzhou. The trio from room 501 widened their eyes in unison as they stared at the phone screen. Even after staring at it for a long time, they were still dumbfounded. The dormitory room was extremely quiet. It was incomparably quiet, to the extent that Lin Jiej could even hear Yao Loves Ice Cream's voice coming from Lu Binlai's earpiece. "I killed someone, I killed someone." Even though it was barely audible, Lin Jiej could still clearly sense Yao Loves Ice Cream's agitation. "Did you see that? I killed someone." "Juice? Expert. Did you see the words on the phone screen? Yao Loves Ice Cream killed 11111 with M416. When Yao Loves Ice Cream reached 5 ones, there was finally no more sound. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sure, Yao stared at 111,111 on her phone screen and carefully counted to confirm that she wasn't counting wrongly. 6 ones. Isn't that Mr. Numbers? So, the person she saw standing motionlessly in the bushes like a fool wasn't an AI but Mr. Numbers? But didn't experts say that Mr. Numbers was busy tonight? Sure, Yao was stunned for a long time before she muttered, Am I seeing things? Is the person I just killed really 111,111? Without Yao Loves Ice Cream's voice coming from Lu Binlai's earpiece, room 501 fell even more silent. Even the faint sounds from the air conditioner sounded exceptionally clear. The silence lasted for a very long time before a very soft voice drifted into Lin Jiej's ears once more. It was still Yao Loves Ice Cream's voice coming from Lu Binlai's earpiece. Am I seeing things? Is the person I just killed really 111,111? Perhaps it was due to her uncertainty, but her voice was filled with hesitation. Is 11111 your boss? Didn't he say that he didn't have time to play games? How did I? Yao loves ice cream, stuttered for a long while, but she still couldn't finish her words. But everyone who heard her voice knew that she was going to say, I killed him. Xia Shangzhou was still in a daze from the earlier scene, so his voice sounded erratic. Maybe, boss suddenly wants to play? Lu Benlai chimed in as well, but compared to Xia Shangzhou, he was much more quick-witted. Perhaps our boss is just playing around in the car? Yao loves ice cream. If that's the case, it's no wonder you were shot in the head. Through Lu Benlai's earpiece, Lin Jiej could sense that Yao loves ice cream. Astonishment had already returned to excitement. But no matter what, I'm still a bronze who has killed a king. Moreover, this king is ranked second in the entire server rankings. This is enough for me to brag about for the rest of my life. Fortunately, I was very excited because I killed someone just now, so I took a screenshot and saved it. Wait for me. I'll bring the screenshot to your boss to show off. After speaking with expert in juice, Shi Yao exited the game and entered WeChat to send a screenshot over to 111,111. Chapter 296. Oh, Shi Yao thought that her eyes were playing tricks on her. She raised her hand to rub her eyes, but the line of gray words was still there. Did this mean that Mr. Numbers had blacklisted her? I didn't offend him at all, so why would he blacklist me? Could it be because I blocked his Moments page? But I've already let him out of the small black room. Furthermore, he didn't blacklist me that day. Could it be that he's trying to settle the score? Or perhaps it's because I just blew his head off earlier? You can't blame me for that. He's the one who stood there like a PC, not moving at all. Not only was Mr. Numbers a venomous, vengeful and arrogant person, he was also petty? Shi Yao harumphed coldly in her heart. I'll blacklist him then. It's as if I can't be blacklisted. With such thoughts in mind, Shi Yao unhesitatingly tapped on less than 111,111's profile picture and added him to her WeChat blacklist as well. After hearing Yao loves ice cream, words, Lu Benlai took off his earphones and turned to Lin Jiej, saying, Boss, Sis Yao went to show off to you. Hearing Lu Benlai's words, Lin Jiej's eyes twitched slightly as he stared at his phone screen unblinkingly. He didn't say a word, but he knew very well that Yao loves ice cream wouldn't be able to show off to him because he had already blacklisted her. That blacklisting wasn't just limited to his WeChat, he had blacklisted her from his life as well. What Xia Shangzhou was concerned about was what Sis Yao had said to Lin Jiej. So he asked, Boss, what message did Sis Yao send to you? Lin Jiej remained silent. Lu Benlai saw that Lin Jiej's screen was still displaying the game, so he thought that he wanted to continue playing. Thus he said, Boss, since you're playing by yourself anyway, why don't you play with us? Xia Shangzhou, that's right, boss. It's fine as long as you don't talk to my Sis Yao. Did Sis Yao admit that she's yours? Lin Jiej lowered his gaze and said resolutely, I'm a human, and a man with backbone at that. Xia Shangzhou, boss, even if you go back on your words, you can still be a god. Lu Benlai, that's right. Boss, you can be my daddy too. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to waste his time with the two of them, so he tossed them I'm going for a run before grabbing his phone and making his way out of the dormitory room. While he was changing into his sports shoes, Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou had already jumped from the previous topic to the next. Xia Shangzhou, do you think our boss is reliable when he says that he won't be playing with Sis Yao? Lu Benlai, I think it's quite low. Xia Shangzhou, I think it's quite high. Lu Benlai, a bet. Xia Shangzhou, let's do it. Lu Benlai, if boss wants to continue playing with Sis Yao, you should just tattoo a Peppa Pig on your body. Applause for the members of society. Chapter 297. At first he could still remember how many laps he had run, but as time went by, the numbers in his head started to get messy. Eventually, all he could remember was how heavy his legs were, and he was unable to lift them up. Yet, he continued to lift them with all his might, as if he was torturing himself or perhaps trying to make himself forget something. Lin Jiej continued running until he could no longer run any further, and his entire body slumped to the ground. His throat was dry, and he was feeling a little short of oxygen. He panted heavily for a long time, but he still found it hard to catch his breath. It was already late at night, and there was barely anyone on the field. Exhausted, he decided to just lie down on the ground. He didn't like the sticky feeling of sweat all over his body, and he wanted to return to his dormitory room to take a shower. But when he remembered that those two fellows in his dormitory room were probably playing with Yaoxi at the moment, he quickly dismissed that thought. It was rare to see stars in the night sky of Beijing. Resting his head on his arms, Lin Jiej gazed at the pitch-black sky. He searched for a long time, but he wasn't able to find a single star. Thus, he retracted his gaze and closed his eyes. From time to time, he would hear the rustling of leaves in the night breeze, and just like that, he passed the time quietly. He didn't know how much time had passed, but when he picked up his phone, he saw that it was already 11 o'clock at night. According to their usual routine, they should have finished the game by now. He got up from the ground and dragged his exhausted body back to the dormitory. As it was summer, he had sweated a lot during his run, and he was feeling a little dehydrated. As he passed by a supermarket, he went in and bought a bottle of mineral water. Walking out of the supermarket, Lin Jiej twisted open the cap, and just as he was about to drink the water, the phone in his pocket suddenly rang. Lin Jiej took out his phone and took a look. It was a WeChat notification, so he tapped on it while drinking the water. It was a voice message from Lin Jiej. He tapped on it, and his older sister's melodious voice drifted into his ears through the night sky. Lin Jiej, do you know what I just received? Had it been any other time when he was in a good mood, he might have replied with bag or jewelry, gold or diamond. But today he really wasn't in the mood. Lin Jiej ignored Lin Jiej's WeChat message. After drinking half a bottle of water, he screwed the cap back on and prepared to head back to his dormitory room. However, his phone suddenly rang once more. While walking, Zhang Xian noticed that it was still a WeChat message from Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej. Let me tell you, you'll definitely be interested. Lin Jiej. It's related to Yao. Lin Jiej. Are you sure you don't want to know? Lin Jiej, alright then. Since you don't want to know, just pretend that I never asked. It was related to soft bun. Lin Jiej was tempted for a moment, but in the end he still couldn't hold himself back and sent a question mark over to Lin Jiej. Lin Jiej, why? Now you want to know? Unfortunately, I don't want to talk about it anymore. Lin Jiej. What does that mean? Speechless? Are you speechless at me? Lin Jiej. Forget it, I won't bicker with you anymore. Beg me, I'll tell you what I've obtained from Yao Boring. Was he such a spineless person? Lin Jiej kept his phone. After 2 seconds he took out his phone. Please. It was as if Lin Jiej had prepared her message in advance. A moment after Lin Jiej's message was sent, her reply came right after. I got Yao's WeChat. Chapter 298. WeChat. I thought that it was something incredible. TSK. Lin Jiej's eyebrows shot up in disdain as he prepared to back out of WeChat. But halfway through he suddenly froze. I don't recall adding Softbun's WeChat. We've been contacting each other through text messages. As if knowing what he was thinking, Lin Jiej sent another message. I know that you don't have Yao's WeChat because I asked her for it when I asked her for it. Lin Jiej. Let me tell you, I don't really use WeChat when I'm overseas. It was only during the Spring Festival that I downloaded it out of boredom. If I had used it earlier, I would have added Yao long ago. However, that's not the point. The point is that I have Yao's WeChat, but you don't. Is a mere WeChat really worth her showing off so much? Lin Jiej harumphed coldly. He suddenly felt the urge to blacklist Lin Jiej as well. Oblivious to Lin Jiej's thoughts, Lin Jiej sent another message. Do you want Yao's WeChat? Lin Jiej. If I do, you know what I'm talking about. Lin Jiej. Yinning, it had been so many days since she spoke to me. Was she using Softbun's WeChat to rob me of my money? Aren't you being too naive? I need Softbun's WeChat? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej copied Shi Yao's phone number and pasted it into his WeChat search bar before tapping on the search bar. There's no such person. She didn't bind her phone number? Or, I can't find her using her phone number? While Lin Jiej was deep in thought, Lin Jai sent him another message. Did you use Yao Yao's phone number to search for her friends? Let me tell you, you won't be able to find her because I've already tried. Let me tell you honestly, I've eaten 3 years more rice than you. And I've never fought a battle that I'm not confident of winning. Since I came to look for you, I know that I'll definitely get the money. If I can't, I won't waste my time. Do you think that I'm a fool? He had never seen a person who could rob and swindle money in such a righteous and confident manner. Lin Jai, I have a feeling that my parents might have mistakenly carried you back at the hospital. Lin Jai, stop joking. Even if they mistakenly carried you, they wouldn't mistakenly carry me. Lin Jiej, really? Who was the one who said that he saw me come out of my mother's womb with his own eyes? Lin Jai, really? Why don't I remember? Who is it? Lin Jai, stop trying to change the topic. Do you want my WeChat or not? If you don't want it, I'm going to sleep now. I'm a delicate piggy who never stays up late. Lin Jai, let me tell you, do you know how much food I have to use every time I stay up late? That's all money. The more you dawdle, the more you'll have to pay. Everyone in their family was cold and aloof, but Lin Jai was the only one who was a chatterbox. Lin Jiej couldn't be bothered to argue with Lin Jai any further, so he transferred 888 renminbi to her. Lin Jai, is Yao Yao's WeChat worth that much? Lin Jai, let me do the math. If I sleep a minute late, I'll have to pay at least 1,000 renminbi. Why is she called Lin Jai instead of money money money? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej transferred another sum of 1,888 renminbi before adding, okay. Lin Jai replied with an okay emoji before sharing a name card with Lin Jiej on WeChat. Chapter 299. Without any hesitation, Lin Jiej tapped on the name card to add her as a friend. In fact, he was still wondering if he should say guess who I am or I'm Lin Jiej when he added her as a friend, but in the instant that he tapped on the name card, he realized that the profile picture was a little familiar, the name was a little familiar, and even the account number was a little familiar. No, it wasn't just familiar, it was extremely familiar. Isn't this ice cream picture Big White Chubby's profile picture? Yao loves ice cream. Isn't that Big White Chubby's WeChat name? And this account number, furthermore, when he tapped on the name card, there wasn't an add friend option at all. Instead, there was a send message option. This meant that the soft bun that his sister had shared with him was already a friend of his. And this friend was, Yao loves ice cream. Lin Jiej felt as if someone had smacked him in the head, and his mind went blank. He closed his eyes and allowed himself to calm down for 2 seconds before he continued thinking. Known sure Yao's WeChat equals Yao loves ice cream. Yao loves ice cream's WeChat equals Yao loves ice cream. Found sure Yao's WeChat equals Yao loves ice cream's WeChat. Removing the same text, found sure Yao equals Yao loves ice cream. Known sure Yao equals soft bun. Yao loves ice cream equals Big White Chubby. Found again, soft bun equals Big White Chubby. As this conclusion formed in Lin Jiej's mind, the image of a bun before his eyes slowly morphed into a large, white and round creature. Then that large, white and round creature slowly morphed back into a bun. Following which, Lin Jiej could clearly feel his fingers trembling as he held onto his phone, and his heartbeat quickened. An indescribable emotion surged through his organs and every single cell in his body. Big White Chubby is soft bun and soft bun is Big White Chubby. So, the things that Yao loves ice cream told him were true? Is she really 165 centimeters tall, 40 kilograms in weight, and as light as a swallow? Is she really a child betrothed like me? So, all along, the girl whom I've been carrying around in the game is my fiancé? He was so agitated that he felt like crying, but at the same time he felt like laughing at the same time. It was no wonder both Big White Chubby and Soft Bun could eat so much. No wonder Big White Chubby and Soft Bun are from G University's English faculty. It was no wonder Big White Chubby and Soft Bun always gave him the same feeling. Of course it was the same person. How could the feeling he got be any different? At the end of the day, what two-timing, what womanizer, it was all nonsense. It was all nonsense. Big White Chubby was his, Soft Bun was also his, everything was his. Why couldn't he be two-timing? Why couldn't he be a womanizer? But then again, why didn't he think that they were the same person? Was his IQ too low? Or was this world too fantastical? This world must be too fantastical. Not too long ago, Lin Jiej was still feeling down, but at this moment, he was excitedly making his way back to his dormitory room. Along the way, he couldn't help but smile. When he was about to reach the 5th floor, he remembered that he had blocked Big White Chubby, so he hurriedly took out his phone and released her from the blacklist. Chapter 300. Lin Jiej walked up to the entrance of the dormitory room, but due to his agitation, he pushed the door open forcefully. He thought that Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou had already ended their game, but who could have thought that they would still be playing? Perhaps due to the loud noise, Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou turned to look at the door, but Xia Shangzhou was still talking to him. Sis Yao, are you still playing? Sure, no problem. I'll definitely lead you to a chicken dinner next time. They're still playing? Lin Jiej's heart was in turmoil, but he maintained a calm expression on his face as he looked at Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai and asked, Are you still playing? Lu Benlai, yes. Lin Jiej took out his phone and logged into the game while replying calmly, That's great. Pull me along. Boss, didn't you say that if you were to? Halfway through Xia Shangzhou's words, he suddenly realized that Sis Yao could hear him through the game's voice chat, so he skipped the rest of his words and went straight to the main point. Aren't you a human? Seeing that no one was pulling him along, Lin Jiej took the initiative to apply to join the team. After which, he shot a glance at Xia Shangzhou and replied calmly, Oh, I'm not a human. Lu Benlai, who was in the midst of drinking from his cup, nearly spat out the water in his mouth. After accepting Lin Jiej's application, he rubbed his tummy, which was hurting a little from holding back his laughter, and said to Xia Shangzhou, Don't forget that Peppa Pig has a tattoo on its body. Xia Shangzhou snorted coldly at Lu Benlai before ignoring him. He continued staring at Lin Jiej, unwilling to give up. But boss, didn't you say that you're a man with backbone? After entering the game hall, Lin Jiej began rummaging through his earphones. Hearing Xia Shangzhou's words, he didn't immediately respond to him. It was only after he found his earphones and was arranging the cables that he turned to Xia Shangzhou and said lazily, I'm not a human anymore, so what backbone do I have? What's the point of being a man with backbone? He wanted to be a man who could bow and stand tall. He was able to stand tall when he was raising flags, but at this moment he was able to bow. Besides, could backbone be used as food? He didn't want a backbone. He wanted Soft Bun, he wanted Big White Chubby. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jiej plugged in his earphones and stared at Shi Yao's avatar in the game hall. His voice was much more gentle than when he had spoken to Xia Shangzhou earlier. Sis Yao, I'll carry you to the chicken dinner. Sis Yao? This seemed to be the first time Mr. Numbers had addressed her as Sis Yao. Furthermore, his voice sounded exceptionally gentle and pleasant to the ears today. It was even more pleasant to the ears than before. This was especially so when he said those words with a slight tremble at the end, causing her heart to tremble along with it. Shi Yao froze for a moment before recalling that Mr. Numbers had blacklisted her. She was just about to say all right to Mr. Numbers, but in the next instant, she swallowed it back down. She was a foodie, but she was also a foodie with a temper, all right? The game began, and the four of them landed together. As usual, whenever Xia Shangzhou saw a good piece of equipment, he would say, Sis Yao, come and get it. Tisk, how boring. Do you think that you'll be able to win Sis Yao's affection just like that? Lin Jiej didn't agree with her at all. Following which, he began furiously picking up equipment from room after room, and just as he was about to reach the god equipment, he took a look at the minimap before hopping over to Yao Loves Ice Cream. Sis Yao, I have a level 3 helmet here. Chapter 301. Sis Yao, I have a level 3 military helmet here. Sis Yao, I have a level 3 military vest here. Sis Yao, I have a 98K and 8X scope and accessories. It's a fully equipped 98K, as Lin Jiaj spoke. He tossed one equipment after another at Yao Love's ice cream's feet. Everything on the ground is for you. Medicine packets, painkillers, and energy drinks, I'll give them to you too. Oh, I also have a med kit. I'll give them all to you for free. After stripping himself clean, Lin Jiaj didn't stay by Yao Love's ice cream's side for too long. He leaped out of the window and continued looking for another room to loot his equipment. So what if I don't want money? Does he think that I'll accept it just because he doesn't want money? While Shi Yao was thinking this, she lowered her gaze to look at the pile of bullets and medicine by her feet. These are all good equipment. I should be able to make it to the final circle. Isn't it a huge pity to leave them here? Shi Yao hesitated for a moment before bending down to pick up the pieces of equipment one by one and placing them into her backpack. It wasn't that she wanted his equipment, but that she didn't want anyone to coincidentally stumble into this room and equip themselves, thus increasing the difficulty of their game. With the equipment that Mr. Numbers had given her, Shi Yao didn't need anything else. So throughout the entire game she had been either following 111,111 and the others as they ran from the blue circle, or camping at the edge of the blue circle with an 8x scope to look for Mr. Numbers. However, what left Shi Yao perplexed was that in the past, regardless of whether it was with her or with Juice, Expert, and the others, Mr. Numbers would always be like a lone wolf, never bothering to care about his teammates. Instead, he would wield his gun and slaughter the enemies by himself. But today it was hard to tell whether Mr. Numbers had taken the wrong medicine or had a brain cramp, but he actually stayed by her side the entire time. No matter which room she entered, Mr. Numbers would enter the room as well. If she were to hide in the bushes, Mr. Numbers would be right next to her. If she were to hide behind a cover, he would either follow her or find the nearest cover to hide behind. In other words, as long as she turned the screen of her phone, she would always see less than 111,111 moving around in her sight. Even at the end of the game, before the words "Great Luck, Chicken Dinner" appeared on the screen, 111111 was still dancing in front of her like a devil, moving in a snakeskin pattern and fighting head-on with her. In the past, the one who would ask Shi Yao if she still wanted to play after every round was Expert of the Monkeys. But this time, a second before the game ended, 111,111's voice sounded in his earpiece. Do you still want to play? Shi Yao took a look at the time and saw that it was already 11:30. Instead of replying to 111,111's message in the game, she ran over to the Sexy and Frisky group and sent a message. I'm not playing anymore. I'm going to sleep. After successfully sending the message, Shi Yao pondered for a moment. Since 111,111 had already blacklisted her, what if he thought that her message was directed at him? Thus she tapped on Juice, an Expert of the Monkeys. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with her message, Shi Yao put down her phone and went to take a bath before anyone in the group could reply. At the same time, in room 501 of the male dormitory, you're tuning into the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.